Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Type 1 Radio Lounge. This is Sonic here, and
Steve Gaddafi as normal. And we're joined tonight with a special guest in the studio, Mr. Ian. Did we say the whole name? Ian. I am. He runs the Free Beans website, which you can find at www.freebeans.com. .co.uk, beg your pardon.
And we're also joined on the line here, our special guest for the evening, Darren Deojee. Welcome to the Type 1 Radio Lounge.
Hey, hi there, how's it going?
Very well.
Guys, good.
We are joined by... Hello, Reset. Are you there, my friend?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I got Herb Guy here with me too.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Darren, meet Reset and Herb Guy.
Hey, Darren.
Okay, hello there, how are you?
Good. Yourself?
Excellent, thank you. Looking forward to this evening.
If you want to ring in, you can use the new number for our American friends, 215-383-5877, or you can go to the Type 1 Red page there and just Skype in. We also have new this week. We've got a little chat room. If you go to type1lounge.blogspot, you can sort of listen in and you can have a little chat with all the folks.
And also hi to everybody listening on Facebook.
Yeah.
Nice to know you're there.
Yeah, and that's just facebook.com/type1lounge.
Easy peasy.
So, Darren, do you want to give people maybe a bit of a background from yourself, and then maybe go into the People's Public Trust?
Sure. Wow, okay, where to begin then, eh? I'll try and keep it as succinct as possible, guys. Yeah, my background is I've been, done a lot of work in public service and all the rest of it, but I've also, the last 6 years or so, I've been running my own personal development events through AlternativeAnswers.net. That was my personal website. It's going through a bit of a redevelopment at the moment, but I did that for quite a long time, going into things like issues of corporate enslavement, and I was working on all various aspects of our awareness and how it's being manipulated, and the things that are affecting our development and things like that. But I was always focusing on so sort of fundamental to our everyday operation in the world that we never paid as much attention to how much awareness was locked in them. So I was doing events on percent, on language, on gender, and doing all right with those. But then I discovered the whole sovereign free man movement, and what got me into that was the language of it, and it was all about the fact that language seemed to be what was getting everybody into this, and it seemed to be having this really liberating effect. And for years I've been going on about all our words being spells. And so, we spell all our words because all our words are spells, and I'll do a lot of detail as to how significant that actually is. And if anybody doubts it, and I mean every word, if anyone doubts it, you just have to think about times on the playground or in relationships when just a few words can affect the way you treat yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you treat others for, minutes, days, years, even decades. I'm willing to guarantee that most listeners here are censoring themselves or treating themselves badly in some way or another as a result of words that people have said to them. So what I found quite beautiful about the sovereign and free man movement, where people were being awakened to their natural empowerment and sense of sovereignty and the right to their space and to their being and all the rest of it, which was obviously, you know, an incredible thing. And as I sort of applied my language work to that area, I came across a bunch of things that a lot of people hadn't noticed. So for years I'd already been going on about the everyday nature of the enslavement of humanity and how we all accept it, where everyday terms, you know, you often, if you were talking about that 10 years ago, you have this, you know, and ever since, people talk about conspiracy theories, and you know, it's all about some, you know, alleged, you know, myth that somebody's cooked up or whatever. But, you know, I've always gone on about how it's always been staring us in the face. So you look at the symbols people wear when they go to work, and they have to wear a collar and a cuffs and tie. That's the components of the shirt and the suit of the city man. And it's like, well, okay, let's look at those words. Who wears a collar, cuffs, and a tie? We're tricked by the context of that particular spell. We're tricked by the fact that it's fabric, but the symbols of a collar and cuffs only mean one thing. And if people have forgotten, you know, what that spell actually means and what that sign points to, it's about, you know, if they were made of metal, would they understand what they wear? And we live in a graded collar system. You have your blue collar, your white collar, your dog collar. All your police are known by their collar number. You know, it's been staring us all in the face our whole life. But then when I looked at the whole sovereign and free man element, you know, what I discovered was that I'd be standing in court and hearing people talk about the legal fiction and the corporation and the blah-de-blah, and the magistrates would be scratching their heads, and, you know, while some would know what was being referred to, others just didn't have a clue. And I realised that the sovereign/free man movement have kind of invented a terminology for a concept. But you know, it's like they'd invented their own language that they hadn't quite told the other side about. So yeah, some people understood the concept, but you know, not everybody. And I'm really very much about being effective, and I didn't see things as being as effective as they should have been. Not over here in the UK, where, you know, we're really quite in the belly of the beast over here. The law that exists in Canada and America is very much newer than what is in place over here. So a lot of the kind of liberal methods that can be applied over there just don't cut it over here. It goes a lot deeper. And so I started to look at things like title, and I discovered that everybody's going about legal fictions and corporations, and nobody was talking about title. And I had to look at these things, this Mr., this Mrs. and this Miss, these given titles of the state. And I realised that, you know, nobody knew what they meant, really. And if you look in legal dictionaries, they're not there. And what's interesting is that, you know, when I was trying to research into the history of Mr., it took us into, you know, a really bizarre place, because the word Mr. isn't in legal dictionaries, but the word mystery is, M-I-S-T-E-R-Y. That's in Black's 8th and before. And in there, a mystery is archaically spelled a mystery. That's M-Y-S-T-E-R-Y, as in it's a mystery. Or archaically, that used to mean, and still does, a business or a trade. Those are the only 4 words that define it in Black's 8th: a business / a trade. And, you know, for me, that was the obvious link to both the Mr. and to the concept of the legal fiction being a corporation, because there it was in black and white. A mystery is a business or a trade, that's M-I-S-T-E-R-Y, and a Mr. therefore is clearly something which is engaged in the practice of mystery, which is a business or a trade. So I then took to advising people to start saying, or basically saying to people, if they wanted to disassociate from the legal fiction, then to draw a reference to the fact that a Mr. is clearly a mystery, which is a business or a trade. And that would create an easy disassociation that has actually a legal founding. But then when I started to look at the other titles, Mrs. and Miss, and it's like, well, Mrs., you know, what's that? You looked at it, it's not even a word properly. If we looked at the letters, it would be Moors. And I realised it's missing an apostrophe, and it's actually Misters, which is belonging to the business. And it's all to do with, you know, obviously title never catching up when women went for the vote. And that's actually proven true when we look at the title Miss. And if you picture a form that people fill in with title, forename, surname, and in that form under the title field you put Miss, what that means is miss this. It means skip this, miss this. Now, for the ladies out there, that's obviously quite a thing, because it basically means they've got no title unless they're married, which is then allocated to the Mr., which is then allocated to the business or the trade. And I think that validates a lot of the stuff that the sovereign movement has uncovered in relation to the capitalist corporate world. But anyway, I left all that behind because it really didn't bother me that much. I'm not really that interested in that sort of stuff. It just was for me to show that these things are actually staring us in the face if we look at the words and the phrases that we're using. What got me was the lack of access to remedy that was being afforded by public servants. Because the funny thing is, those titles I mentioned are the only titles we've got, and obviously some listeners may have heard some of the other audio or video I've got out there about obviously the fact that all the guys out there had a title before they were the Mister, and that was the title Master, and you were told it was because you were a minor, and actually you weren't a minor. That's not in any legal dictionary in the world. Master is all about being the employer. It's all about being the creditor and the principal. And none of us were subject to any statutory obligations when we had the master title. You know, we only picked them up once we started engaging in the world of commerce with the Mr. title. So that then, you know, took me down a whole rabbit hole of experiences and whatnot that then led me to realise obviously a lot of people started to explore trust law, and I really got my teeth stuck into that and found that it was a very powerful thing that we hadn't been using properly, and that led me to basically eventually to a series of events forming the People's Public Trust. Or should I say discovering the People's Public Trust, really. I didn't form it. It's just like the collar cuff tie thing. It's something that's been staring us in the face. And that is that our problem in holding people accountable, i.e. I mean our public servants, who really are the people who should be representing the well-being of the people and therefore protecting them from corporate machinations that are to the detriment of the people. So really there's that only happens because of a failure on the hands of public servants. That I realised that basically, you know, this is where the master title comes into its absolute right, and that is that as the creditors and the principals of the various nations that we inhabit, our public servants, hence in the title, if they're the servant, who's the master? Hello. While they're at work, they're collared. Hello, this is it. It's staring us in the face. We have just lost the capacity to use our title, just as we have lost the capacity to stand as the people, and instead we're forced to stand as citizens, which are subservient to government rather than the people who are the employers of government. And what we've been doing with the People's Public Trust is, you know, and the concept of it is, you know, trying to act as the employer and saying that actually, you know, all this hiding behind filing cabinets and hiding behind limited liability, which is something which only, you know, corporations would enjoy, which is a bizarre thing, because really, limited liability is diminished responsibility, and diminished responsibility used to only be afforded to children and the mentally unwell. And I always say to people, well, you know, in some corporations, which are you? Are you a child? Are you mentally unwell? Otherwise, how... Yeah, exactly. This is it. That's why they're enjoying limited liability, because they're living in a bonkers detached world. Now, the thing is, though, that that's what people are hiding behind, but obviously that's only a product of corporate jurisdiction. In trust jurisdiction, there is no limited liability because the trustee is always liable. Now, the funny thing is, the actual primary relationship that exists between the people and the public servants is one of trust first. Because do you not agree that public servants are entrusted with the well-being of the community as the highest personal priority?
Yes, supposedly.
You know, this is the point. Are they not entrusted with providing safe communities, progressive communities, creative and you know, benevolent services? This is surely what exists as a precursor to any contract. Is that, well, first of all, this is the trust of these roles, you know, and we expect that when you're building the contracts and we're building the role definitions, that these are the fundamental qualities that underlie it. And I've never ever mentioned that to anybody, and had anybody say, well, no, I disagree with that. And in fact, if they do disagree with it, they're actually what we find to be the corrupt public servants that need to be in a different job. And this is what it boils down to. It's like, well, if you don't believe that, then you are clearly in a different job, and if you were our broadband provider or a telephone provider, then we'd bloody change you. But because you're a public servant, you're somehow able to hide behind these nonsense structures that you've created. Well, no more. And this is the whole point of the People's Public Trust, is to say, well, actually, the People's Public Trust as an entity is simply the embodiment of the unspoken, obvious trust placed in public servants, which is hereby expressed. And we hereby come forward to act on the basis of that, to say, do you know what, we're going to stand here and watch what you're doing from now on, because you've broken the trust up until now. We entrusted you with all these things, and everywhere we look, you're messing it up. You know, now that, don't get me wrong, I actually commend and applaud and celebrate all the great public servants out there that do look to give good service, because as I said, I've worked in public service half my life. You know, I've worked in Scottish Parliament. Sorry, go on. Sorry?
No, go on, Darren. It's just interference.
No, that's all right. No, it's just you know, I've worked in a lot of public service. I've worked for the Scottish Parliament. I've worked for various, you know, I've worked for the police. I've worked for numerous councils on an advisory basis for a private company. And what I can say is, most of them are just, you know, they're either, you know, your average person on the street, or they are people who do want to give good service. And the only reason they end up giving bad service is because of their own emotional and mental issues, just like anybody else. You know, having bad days and all the rest of it. But the problem is not them. The problem are the really bad ones, which are the ones which are, you know, abusing power, abusing authority, you know, really giving in to their own selfish dark side in different ways. And we've all seen it in many different ways, in the ways that it manifests. And it's like, that has got to actually start to be addressed, because if we tackle the public servants and we actually have people, just a few bad apples in the bunch. So, you know, at the People's Public Trust, we're inviting public servants. We're saying, come on, you know, surely you want the same thing we do. There's only one community here. There's only us and us. There's no them, really. All we're dealing with is a few nutters, you know, a few emotionally unstable, you know, boys and girls who shouldn't be in the jobs that they're in, basically. That's what it boils down to. And if we're all grown up about it and want to say, right, okay, let's cut through the crap and just be honest about what's going on here, stick some observers in, start to record what's going on, not just name and shame, but litigate where possible on the grounds of breach of trust. And in breach of trust, there's no limited liability. No, you, Mr. Named Entity, you are the liable party here. You know, you're not hiding behind your filing cabinet, you're not hiding behind your corporation, we're not going through your complaint procedure, we're hauling you out, and that's it. Now, obviously, that's only for the extreme cases. We can't do that until we have enough numbers. And that applies here, it applies in Canada, it applies in America, Australia, all the colonies, everywhere can basically use the concept of the People's Public Trust, because the same applies. You know, it's there in all of them. All of us can agree that that is a fundamental thing. And if we can correct just the issue of a few bad public servants, I guarantee a landslide change in behaviour. And we've seen incredible things just in our few basic experiments with this, where just by having observers in them, when we tell them why we're there, you know, to make sure that people are being afforded a quality and value service and blah, 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 we've had judges walk out. They've got up and they've walking out of family court cases. We've had a guy recently got to go home with his daughter for the first time in 6.5 years, and we've really not even started. You know, we actually haven't. There's been no real proper publicity at all. There's only been a few test cases. I've been very wary about going out there with a master title, because, you know, you've got to be very careful as soon as, you know, because, you know, it's about understanding what it means to stand as the employer and not rise to the bait of the servant that's behaving a bit like a rabid dog. And it really does require a bit of, you know, maturity and stability, because if we're still angry and feeling like the jilted teenager, then that's going to put us in fight or flight. It's going to put them in fight or flight. It just all gets messy at that point. But in actual fact, you can have incredible effects just by, you know, holding steady on it, sort of thing. But we're now at the stage where we reckon people are, you know, it's ready, the concept is ready for people, people are ready for the concept. The weekend I'm actually on at the minute, we're having a birthday party for a couple of guys tonight, and we're actually doing a weekend where we're writing the observer training for people to come along to. So a lot of people have been waiting for that date, but we've been writing it today and tomorrow, and the dates for it will be out for England anyway, in the next few weeks, really, actually. They'll be published within the next week, so that'll be on peoplespublictrust.com. That's the website for it. And if anybody is interested in getting involved, please do email, or if you've got a complaint, an evidenced complaint. This isn't a witch hunt, you know, we've got to make sure this is evidenced and above board. The point I've made to a lot of people is, you can't expose bullies and thugs and immature schoolboys if you behave like one. You know, the point is their behaviour exposes itself. We just have to hold the course, and by doing that, we win public servants as our allies, because actually, there is only one community, and then what we end up with is public servants fixing it themselves, and bish bash bosh, if you've got public servants actually represent you, do you really have to worry about the rest? Theoretically, no. That's the simplicity of it, you know. So anyway, that's kind of a basic introduction to it. People can have a look at peoplespublictrust.com, or watch a few of the videos on YouTube. If you just search on my name, Darren Deojee, that's D-E-O-J-E-E, I go on about the trust and a few of them, and also a few other concepts to keep in mind as we're dealing with a lot of this law stuff. And there's also quite a good audio that introduces it on lawfulrebellion.org. That's just an audio, but it was quite a good one, intro. And there's also there's an interview with me airing on Paradigm Shift TV on Sky TV that's being showed on an alternate basis, and people can check that out. So pstv.tv, it's on Sky Channel 201. Do check it out. And I also recommend everybody please do support Paradigm Shift. They're doing an absolutely brilliant job out there. You know, buy their DVDs and all the rest of it. They're trying to get the word out, and they need our support to stay on the air. It's an incredible thing. That's my intro. Go for it, guys.
Amazing.
Take a deep breath.
Oof, I'm going to have a drink. I don't have my tea or my water.
You get your flow on, don't you?
Cheers.
Are you familiar with the work of Marshall Rosenberg?
Somebody mentioned that to me recently.
That was
maybe
me.
even today. Was it you? That's what it was.
Ian's the chap who introduced me to it. It's fascinating work.
Right.
I had a sense you probably were familiar because he's got some very provocative stuff about language. So
Oh, right.
he was the guy that coined the non-violent communication method,
Right,
and,
yeah.
which very much dovetails with like the Brandon Adams creditors in commerce sort of take on how to apply language as a means of asserting our liberty.
Absolutely.
And one thing I'm really interested, I mean, you've about in what you say. I mean, you've clearly spent a lot of time looking at language and law and studying, and I'm intrigued, like, what your perspective is upon how quick remedy can be found, because obviously the way you talk might intimidate a certain number of people, thinking, my God, how much have I got to learn and how quickly to be able to be part of this movement.
Yeah, okay, that's a very good point. Do you know what? The funny thing is, this is the whole point about not only this particular branch of my work, i.e. the People's Public Trust, but the rest of it as well, and that is that actually there's almost nothing they need to do. There's lots they need to do, but there's nothing they really need to learn. Because how much did you need to learn when I was talking about the collar cuff tie and then drew a different context on it? When I expressed the concept of the trust, was that a difficult thing to grasp?
No.
It wasn't, because it was already there. That's the point of this, and it's about realising that our remedy lies not in complex solutions. Our remedy lies in the simplicity of it. And this is the thing. It's like, you know, how quickly can remedy be achieved? This is the incredible question, I think, as we live in these incredibly intense times. What I actually ask people is like, well, you know, everything that you've heard that is not part of your personal experience is just a story. It's somebody else's story fed to you through either their interpretation of it or the screen or the newspaper or whatever. But it's actually just a story. You weren't there. It's just a spin on it. And all, you know, our reality really is just, you know, an assembly of the stories that we pay attention to. And, you know, our remedy lies, I think, in fixing the story that we repeat in our head all the time. And it's about saying, well, whose story is it? And if you agree we live in incredible times of manifestation and co-creation and coming together and possibility and all the rest of it, then, you know, I just say, well, okay, that's brilliant. If you're feeling that, that's great. But the doubt that people are experiencing is the result of the story that's spinning around in their head, which is the one they're being pumped full of, and what's been fed into them since they were kids. And it's like, I think the remedy actually lies in when we can do that, and that's what I think sovereignty is about. Sovereignty is about the mastery and control of your internal state, and saying, well, actually, it's my story I'm telling, it's my story I'm living, and, you know, that's what I want to see people being able to do. And that's the point of the People's Public Trust. It's not a free man or sovereign solution. It's about private power, and the private power of the people to say how an individual chooses to interpret that private power is none of anybody else's damn business. If you want to call yourself Bob of the Family Smith, that's up to you. If you want to be Billy No Name, that's fine. If you want to be the King of Fairies, then that's okay as well. I'm not bothered. It makes no difference to me. It's your private position. Don't expect me to agree with you. You know, and that's the thing with the problem with the whole, with some of the court cases that I've seen, is people have been so demanding agreement. I've just seen two parties that aren't actually listening to each other. That's why one of the things we'd like to see the public trust grow into is offering mediation, because all that's actually needed here is a translation process between people, because it's incredible what's happening as the emotional content of folks' uncertainty gets in the way of them making their point, and the reaction of the system and blah blah blah. You know, it's just like watching things escalate out of control when they don't need to be. There's people in jail and people out of their houses, and you know, folk in debt that just do not need to be. You know, and it's like, I think we need to start changing the message and saying, what is this about for people? What is it you actually want as you're researching this stuff? For me, the liberty is, and for me, the gain is, and the mastery is, when you're no longer affected by the spells that drop through your door. You know, these bits of paper with all these spells on them, and these funny people in special costumes that think they've got special powers, you know, and it's like, for me, I like to try and steer clear of them wherever possible, because it's like, yeah, you've got your uniform on, that's a warning sign, you think you've got special powers, that's okay, I'll give you a few minutes to show if you're a human being, but if you're not going to be in human being mode, that recognises we're mutual beneficiaries of a great community and a great place, then actually I don't want to be around you because you're a nutter. That's what it boils down to.
You're representing a falsehood, basically, or a fallacy.
Absolutely, it's a complete falsehood, and it's a complete, the chances are they're emotionally and mentally unstable, they've got an issue with power, blah, 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 I don't know. But the numbers that really don't understand what it is to be part of a community and to be part of, a nice place to be, basically. It's like, well, actually, for starters, I think you're in the wrong job, and, second of all, I don't really want to be around you right now.
What you're saying there is, is a very basic level what each and every person on the planet wants, isn't it? Just to have a nice place to live,
exactly,
and nice people to share their lives with, and it's just the hierarchical structure above, or perceived to be above them, that creates. I like your terminology with the spirals, just sort of getting sucked into different spirals, and sort of using this as a way to sort of back out and to get into some stillness.
Yes, mate, yes, exactly. Thanks for drawing that back in there, because, it's like, it's like when people are saying what they got into this for, once you get to a certain point, it's like, do you really need to have the victory in court? Do you really need the lane settled? No, you don't. Once you grasp onto what it is, and you get a sense of your own empowerment, and the illusion of authority is broken, then isn't that the victory? Doesn't it end there? What more do you want? Initially, anyway. Initially, surely it's about, being able to keep a control of your internal state, to be unfettered by these things. But for me, it goes deeper than that, because it's all about when you're in your own private space, like you say, to find stillness, because when we're in our own private space and we're choosing to engage in something or whatever it is we want to do, what gets me is the amount of things that are checked off in our sort of subconscious, pre-conscious, that we are, that determine whether we will or won't do something. All the little self-checks about what people might think, what we think, what somebody else thought in the past, and blah, 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 and what the state might say, and all the rest of it.
So we are our own thought police.
Exactly. That's where the battle of sovereignty lies for me, is in exactly that space. And all the original stuff of law research and all that sort of stuff, that's just the doorway into it. That's just the beginning. That's just to get rid of the externalization of it, to then realize exactly what you're saying there, Nick, that we are our own thought police, that right here, right now, for people who are sitting just listening to this, and there's nobody else in the room, the amount of censorship you engage in before you decide to do something is actually incredible. It's an incredible thing.
Well, that's the battle of the mind, anyway, isn't it?
Exactly.
The mind's sort of trying to take control of the situation, and instead of doing that, instead of sort of acting upon all those thoughts, you've just got to realise that all those thoughts are just thoughts. They arise and go away, and you're just got to not grasp them. Be a bit mindful of exactly what they are, and exactly. It's interesting how you can bring in the thought police idea, with the idea of words as spells, because you internalise the words, and they're sort of acting on your mind. You sort of you think in words, don't you?
If you pay mind to the words you use and the way you use them, makes a huge difference. Sort of thing, which is
absolutely
what Ian refers to with this NDC kind of thing that I'm certainly reading a book about it at the minute, and it is absolutely. And you do notice how you know, by where you come from or whatever, you do use criticisms as greetings sometimes, unwittedly, and and all that comes down to using violent terms towards things to mean sort of good things. So you have to sort of be wary of the way you're saying things as well as what you are actually saying.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, this is exactly what the kind of qualities we're trying to blend. We're going to be putting into this training for observers, because most situations get out of hand purely because of the people involved in a situation not keeping a lid on just the feelings that are moving through them in the situation. That's all it is. And people just don't have a control over that, and it just gets out of hand, and they don't even by the time they realise it's just it's too late.
Mm.
Yeah,
indeed.
So I'm really intrigued when you've I've seen you talk about the people's public trust online, and you clearly want to bring an enormous amount of attention to this subject. When millions of people have an awareness of the people's public trust, there's potential for great change very, very quickly. Yet I'm intrigued as to how you see the growth of attention around this idea. Because I've heard that you're actually seeking to do talks in relatively small spaces, and I'm just intrigued by what seems like a slight paradox there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Because really, I'm not a marketer. I'm not a promoter. I kind of, this is a sideline of what my arena is, and I believe the trust needs to be escalated, but for me, I kind of leave a pregnant space when I talk about the trust, because really, it's not something, like I said, that I've created. I want to draw a lot of attention to it, because I genuinely believe it has the potential to be the biggest thing since the formation of Parliament, if people actually see it. But it can only happen with ownership, with people realising that they're acting on their own sense of trust being broken, and recognising the value of it as being a common vehicle. I'm not here to try and I've actually chosen it as a conscious thing, that I'm not going to stand here and try and create an organisation really proactively. I've been doing it as a result of people dragging it out of me and saying, well, I see that needs done in relation to this sort of role that needs to be done. Can I do it? Yes, mate, absolutely. Because if you see that this is something that can work, but only if you're willing to act of your own, with your own autonomous use of the tool, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then that's it. But it's about people realising...
You're just providing people with the tool, aren't you?
That's it, exactly. But I'm not here to say how to use it, but I do want to get people... But I am saying to people that the vessel itself is a particular shape, and it's a particular shape for a reason. And the documents that we're working on just now are to help people understand that shape. And it's because of, so it can carry the private powers properly while keeping everybody safe. And that's what we're working on, because I've got friends in jail, I've got friends that have lost their houses and all the rest of it, I've got friends that got beat up by nutter cops and all the rest of it, and the reality is I don't want to see that happening. I don't think this has to descend into that, but when we are going to start to go, in a supposedly, theoretically, allegedly confrontational situation with the state, which it is not. It's merely sending observers into situations to observe process, observe quality of service, observe the humanity of service that's being delivered to people. As soon as we start to do that and people start to react to it, we want to make sure that all these people are going out there are safe. That's got to be the primary priority. And one of the ways to do that is to ensure that they are acting off a sense of accountability, a sense of their own their own gut sense of importance and urgency and the fact that something needs done, and their own desire for change. And that's some of the stuff that we're going to build in to, make sure that people are, they are being proactive and responsible when they're starting to act in this capacity. But it's to understand that this particular capacity is quite special, because you don't need to study to use it, you don't need to understand anything to grasp it, you can tell it to your mum and she's not going to think you're a nutter, This is accessible to everybody, and that is the point about it. And it is not seeking to take power, it's not seeking to destroy government, it's none of that, which some people will view other aspects of the movement is. And the most important point about it is that it is not exclusive, it is totally inclusive. There is no us and them. It's about saying we are one community who agree that actually all we want is quality and value services. Is that difficult to grasp? Do you need to study anything to really pursue that? You don't. You can send your mum in to be an observer, and she can pick up whether somebody's being an idiot and somebody's behaving like a little spoiled boy.
It almost seems that something like this is in place already, like a complaints commission or something like that.
Except they are all incorporated
into the you made this the nail on the head there with the corporations, haven't you?
Exactly. They're all
How are
corporations.
they going to deal with people who are not elected then? Per se, like in local councils where they have a
chief executives
and stuff like that.
Well, the point is, you mean like where? So basically, the issue of the council, you've got the private and the public side, don't you?
Yeah.
And what's happened is people have been led to believe, and so have the councillors, that the private side doesn't really have any power anymore. But it actually does.
It has all the power. It's
exactly.
They have all the means to the contracts that are issued to local workers.
Exactly.
They choose who empties the bins and who
chairs the council.
Like round here.
Yeah.
And here.
So for me, when people are challenging councils and they're writing to the public side, it's like, well, you're writing to the wrong side. You're just going to get standard letters from that lot, because generally, up until now, they've not, you may or may not get a humane response. If you really want to take up big issues, it should be on the private side and going through the councillors and the chairman and whatnot. But when it comes to actually dealing with them, this is something that we all have to explore ourselves. What's happened in introductory ones is there's no doubt it has an effect, because this is about pure psychology. This is it. This is 100% observer, observed. It's quantum mechanics. It's the whole shooting match. It's basically saying...
What sort of reaction have you got from public servants then, when you...
basically, it tends to bring out the humanity in somebody, bizarrely enough. It's a funny thing. It tends to bring out their nicer side, which is quite an interesting point. Not always, but often it does. So, for example, there's been times when we've been going to the court with large groups of people, and they've all been saying, no, you can't come in here, blah, 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 and just step out and, be visible as an observer with a badge and blah, 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 and all of a sudden, a few seconds later, everybody's getting in, they're all being treated nicely, all that sort of stuff. And it's just that smoothing of behaviour, which is actually saying, well, actually, this is because this is how you should behave. And that's what it boils down to. This is how you should behave, and now you're doing it. Brilliant. That's the beginning.
It's like all about accountability, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, it's exactly what I've said. Yeah, accountability, quality and value of service, humanity of service, etc., etc. Because really, when you ask people what they want, and you'll get a whole list of different things, but if you really try and explore what somebody actually wants, the little private personal interpretation things are almost irrelevant. That's their freedom. There is a few basic things which are standard, which is to do with to be treated like a human being, to have access to quality and value services, to have access to remedy when you need it, to feel supported in your community, all this sort of stuff. Does anybody think they don't want that? I've not met anybody who doesn't want that. So it's like, well, okay, surely if we focus on saying, well, these are the people who are paid and employed to do that, hello? Does anybody refute that? Does anybody think that public servants and the providence structures that they are operating in, is that not what they're designed for? Are they actually designed for anything else? I don't think so. This really is not, this isn't rocket science, it's not even law. We're not even talking about law anymore. That's the bizarre thing about it. It's like we've come out of, I delved into all this law stuff and then erupted out of it, when actually it's like, none of that actually matters now. It's about the basic language here, which the law side of it is just purely about, the access to remedy, and by obviously using the trust language, we're hopefully gaining access to the fact that it doesn't matter whether a chief exec or a director or whatever, there's still no limited liability, because they were still, if we're acting in a breach of trust or a misconduct in public office, these are both, misconduct in public office is a common law only offence. Breach of trust is a trust jurisdiction offence only. There's no limited liability there. That only exists if we took them under something like a harassment, say, which would be a statutory charge.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's about forcing the jurisdiction based on the charge.
So, I'm guessing then that you're not really talking about issuing commercial liens and such technology at all.
I'm really not that bothered about them, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm really not, because it would be nice, and people have pledged some of the collateral from their liens into the trust, which is wonderful. It's a private remedy, which is great, but the way I see the trust is there to represent people's, no, not represent, to basically stand on the membrane between the private and the public. And if people are choosing to use things like commercial liens and whatever as part of their private access to remedy, then the trust is simply there to observe the process and make sure they're being given access to remedy by the people who are able to give that access, which actually isn't the judges and whatnot. For the most part, it's generally court staff, and people like that, These are the people who actually have the power to give us access to remedy, and either don't know it or don't want to give us it. And that's actually got nothing to do with the Bar Association or judges. That's like the us out there. It's like, well, actually, you guys of the community, it's like, do you not know you can do this sort of thing? So I'm not bothered about the use of private remedy, but protecting the right to the use of it, if you see what I mean. Yeah, this is what keeps the trust clean. The trust itself is a completely clean vessel, and it's to keep that way. It's not there to adopt any challenging sovereign positions, but simply to, try and seek to secure the right and correct application and access to the use of private position and whatever it is. The biggest problem we face is people in the colonies, in all of it. So in the UK, in the States, in Canada, in America, and in Europe as well. The biggest kind of problem that we face is the loss of access to what private means. That's my understanding of it. So now, these days, public means, government and public services. Private means business and all the ripping up of the planet and mad mental shenanigans they get away with. And the people have become non-entities. And it's like, well, wait a minute, that's not true, because there are some people enjoying the fullness of private power. And these are all the old families and all the old big, all the old money in the UK and the old money in Europe. And they're all using trusts, and they're all using private power and private remedy, and it's like, well, that is our right. We actually have the same power to access that private and use those private remedies. We just have to rediscover the methodology to do it. And one of the things that encapsulates this is a very simple thing, is by simplifying it as private and public power. And to me, no business is private. They're all public. It's like, I'm sorry, how can you say you're a private business? You've got 500 people dependent on you for their livelihoods, and whatever else effect you're having on the community. That's not private, that's extremely public. And this is where it's been stolen from us. But what will take place on those business premises are the things that you and I are trying to do in access to private remedy, and they get away with it and we don't. They're allowed to issue notices. Ours are letters, which we call notices. They're allowed to issue blah-de-blah. Ours are documents which you call this. It's an absolute nonsense. It's a farce. And the people out there need to really know that we're picking on the actual issues, which is to do with the points that they're denying us. And that is not the same as, validating all the various nuances of private position that people are trying to adopt at the minute. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, on that bit, it's like, it doesn't really matter with the fiddly details of the slightly complex and slightly mental private position some people are adopting. It's not actually about that at all. It's more about the private thing for me. That's what I'm really working and pushing to try and restore for people.
So I'm very interested, the next thing I was going to ask was, how do you see the People's Public Trust interfacing with the corporate world? And I'd like to bring it to an example, if that would be okay.
Yeah, of course.
I had an interaction with a bank just the other week where I was not happy with the service I was getting. I made a formal complaint about it. They totally ignored me, and I ended up in a meeting with the branch manager trying to deal with it, and I was threatened with having all my accounts closed if I continued to pursue my complaint, which obviously would have been threatening my entire livelihood, that of me, my whole family, just for being willing to pursue a complaint about the standard of service. In an example like that, is there a way that you see the People's Public Trust interfacing?
Absolutely. This is the thing. Now, this would be, I have to admit, this, my tongue is somewhat loosened this evening, and the answer is absolutely yes. Maybe not immediately, but certainly longer term, because as I said, I'd like to see us, absolutely demolishing this nonsense that business is private. Let's cut through the crap there. What is private about it? There's nothing private about it. And, I'd like to see the people be restored with that private power. And there's various mechanisms and tools I'd like to see the Trust using, which some of you may have heard me talk about online, to restore private power for people. But anyway, in relation to banks and whatnot, I absolutely see it being extremely relevant whether people are getting quality of value and service there as well. And in fact, there is one case with a bank which is basically, as far as our investigation is showing, has completely missold to people in accordance with the Consumer Credit Act, and on a whole series of loans, quite large loans as well, personal loans, and the paperwork is simply not in order. And I'm not talking about just a normal contract argument, I'm talking about actual flaws in the definition of the paperwork, which are actually really quite a valid case to take to any court. It's a cooperative bank, don't know if it's okay to say that or not, but hey, there you go, it's out there now. But anyway, yes, it's a cooperative bank, and my point with them was, and I intervened at the request of somebody who was feeling bullied by them, and when I wasn't witch hunting at all, but when they came to me and asked for me to look at it, it was clearly a mis-selling. And as we challenged them on it, it was really interesting to see how they've reacted by having an intermediary involved. They still haven't kowtowed, and basically the bottom line is she's going to have to take them to court to prove it, because they're just digging their heels in. They've just drawn a line saying they're not willing to discuss it, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, actually, you haven't answered the point at all. And it's a really interesting one, and I'd like to see the Trust being able to help people on an ongoing fashion like that, because everybody needs to pull their socks up as far as I'm concerned. It's like, let's have a look at the problems people are experiencing in their community and in their world, and a lot of it is to do with the humanity of the services they're receiving from not just corporations and public service, but all round. It's about the humanity, the friendliness, the whatever, feeling like they're being treated as if they were an individual of value and that they were deserving of respect in some way. It's not really a lot to ask when it's usually an entity that's making money on you or that you're paying, and it's really about having a standard tool that we can use to act carte blanche against this sort of disease that has infested things that were created to serve us and to be benevolent towards us. It's an absolute insanity.
So my sense from what you're saying is that the People's Public Trust, you don't, am I right in thinking that you don't really intend for it to actually be an organisation per se?
No, it's an unincorporated association of private parties and private trusts.
Yeah,
it's completely private.
So it's a technology that people will be able to use. It would be, for instance, an online resource of documents, of processes, but it's not. There aren't employees.
Well, no, we will end up with privately compensated individuals, shall we say. But they will be employees, and it will be done properly, but only when we're at the stage that actually that is needed. Because one thing is for sure, that we are not at the utopian state yet. We need to act as an interface, and when you're asking people to take time away from their families and time away from their work to do things long term, they do need to have something to put on the family table, as it were. So for people who are, I'll give you a scenario. So basically, we're looking at different levels of observers, basically. So there's going to be people who can't come along to a training yet or whatever. They'll have access to a standard set of documents and videos that talk about how to keep yourself safe, what to do, the standard reporting format, what to sort of look at and what to look for to create a credible and objective account, because that's what's going to be needed. Remember, this isn't a witch hunt, you know, this is a really important point, you know, for it to be effective. But then beyond that, there is going to be training that people can come along to, because obviously there's going to be people that want to and feel moved to do more than just observe. But for us, you know, if they want to interact and speak in a situation, for us to be acting in the name of the trust, because let's think about it, you know, it's the trust for everybody really, then we're going to offer training for them in managing their internal state and internal de-escalation and various other things to handle getting out of fight or flight, basically, you know, because I know there's some people out there who are in that state, and you can give them, the method is irrelevant to them. They'll be able to evoke the humanity in another individual, de-escalate situations and whatnot, and pull off things that nobody else could. And I know there's plenty of people out there like that, you know.
Negotiator.
Sorry?
Like a negotiator.
Absolutely, but not everybody has that skill, and if you just give people a bunch of processes to follow, it can get ugly and inhumane, very accusatory, and we don't want to see that happen. So there is going to be training for people, and the people who give the training will be not employees, but they will be volunteers. In time, if it grows big enough, then yes, there will have to be employees, but I certainly would still like to see it as being unincorporated as far as possible, because this is about trying to carry private power into the public as far as possible.
So my guess is that you're actually planning on this growing quite organically. It's not something that you would even desire to suddenly, in the space of weeks, see it come to its fulfillment.
I would love to see it come to its fulfillment in a few weeks, because it would require everybody out there to realise that they have the casting vote on that. And that is what it boils down to. It's all about saying, it's all about, you know, well, it's funny how, you know, there's a whole commercial side of it, and I like to get people to think about what currency is. And the currency of the mainstream and all the rest of it, it's all about the spending of power. And what's an interesting thing is, you know, people don't want to spend money on event, you know, personal development events or things like that. I say that not to do with this, but to do with struggling to run my own events for many years, and they seem to want all that stuff for virtually free, but they still have to go pay for clothes in places like Primark, where they're funding sweatshop in China, you know, where people are working ridiculous hours, etc. And it's like, the hypocrisy of that absolutely sickens me. And what I find very interesting is that, you know, if you watch where people are willing to spend their power, there's a madness what we're doing. You know, there is a lot of hypocrisy, even amongst the so-called awakened. And what I find, it's a funny thing, when we spend money, we spend the currency, we spend this token, we get another thing back, so we'll get an object, and then what do they call that thing they give you that's if you give a 20 quid note for...
Change.
Exactly. But it's not change, is it? It's just more currency.
It's more the same,
yeah. It's change. Now, they've stolen our change, is my point. Now, when I see beggars on the street asking me for change, it's like, mate, I've got tons of change, but I've got no money. What do you want? That's it. What do you want? You want change? Tons of it. Now, that's the point. There's oodles of change everywhere. The point is, though, when do people change? How much do you want it? When is enough enough? When are you willing to get up and act and actually go and do something yourself, but to do it in a humane fashion rather than acting from fear, acting from a place of love? Because if we go from fear, we're in fight or flight, we're like a timid animal, you know, and we bring out the fight or flight in another. So they either try and dominate us, or there's an emotional nonsense going on, or whatever. We need to get out of that, because as long as we're in fight or flight, we're a bunch of animals, and that's what happens.
So where's your starting point when you meet someone for the first time? You've walked into a shop, and you're standing there talking to the shopkeeper, and you know, what's your first point of call in terms of enrolling someone in a bit of change?
Do you know what? That has been a great puzzle of mine. If I had the answer to that, you'd have heard of me a long time ago, mate. Do you know what I mean? This is what I mean. You're right about the organic growth, though, because I'm standing here saying, look, I don't have all the answers. Here's something, here's like my language work applied to this sovereign law stuff. What do you think? That's it. It's like, okay, people are saying, wow, let's do this. I'm like, right, okay, if you really agree, but do you know what? I'm not going to do anything for you. It's like, you know, I've got other stuff to do and so do you. If we want this change, then actually, it's actually going to require more of us to do it. To me, you know, 10,000 people isn't actually representative. You know, what gets me is there's a document published in September last year, then it was by the Committee for Standards on Public Life in the UK, which is a parliamentary watchdog. So this is as official as documents get. And it's a survey of public opinion of public life. It's an absolute stonking document because it's all about public trust, looking at judges, policemen, senior civil servants, journalists, the whole shooting match. It's 50 pages of absolute unbelievable support for the concept of the people's public trust. It basically says that in the last 2 years, from 2008 and 2010, trust in public servants to have such basic things as being competent at their job and to tell the truth to have dropped 10% from 36 to 26%. Now that means the concept of trust and broken trust is not a position of the wings, it's not even the mainstream, it's the majority. And I'm sorry, if you feel that and you're not willing to act on it, then do you know what? You deserve what's coming. You deserve it. Because I stood on the steps of St. Paul's, I've said this in a few videos, I stood on the steps of St. Paul's at the Occupy movement to 300 people talking about the trust and blah, 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 and I'm saying, right, tomorrow we can take representative action on the bank bailout and undo it. Tomorrow it can happen if enough people get on board and make it truly representative. Sure, how many people think it represented them to bail the banks out? How many people feel it represented the well-being of their family to bail the banks out? I've never met anybody who felt that. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, of that group of 200 to 300 in St. Paul's, everybody agreed. They were an animate crowd. It was like, yeah, all the way. And it was like, right, come on then, sign up and let's do this. 12 came forward. I was just about sick. It's like, do you know what? This country and the other countries deserve it. We absolutely deserve it because, you know, if the majority of us can't be willing to act on how we feel, then we're screwed.
And what are they at the Occupy for if not for that reason?
Yeah, exactly, mate, exactly. So when you mentioned about the organic growth earlier, absolutely right, organic, because it's about our ownership. It's about people phoning and saying, do you know what? I want there to be a public trust branch in my town. I want to be able to go in my court, you know, on the maybe just for a few hours every couple of weeks or whatever, and just do my bit for the community and watch what's going on and making sure people aren't getting shafted and treated like animals. You know, it's like saying, you know, we have, in fact, perhaps, my friends, made a mistake. We perhaps thought that the people in suits motivated for profit had our best interests at heart, and actually we've let them run things, and look at what's happened. If we look at every direction, look at what's happened, look at Codex Alimentarius, look at what's happened to our governments that are just kowtowed to the banks, look at what's happened to the quality of our services, because the public servants feel shafted. That's why they're given poor service. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's all just about the parasitical corporations, though, isn't it?
It really is, absolutely. And this is what it boils down to. But we need to get the public servants on side to then do something about that. And I just say to people, look at Iceland. They pulled it off. They did it.
Yeah, they did it.
They kicked the banks out, and I'm not saying kick the banks out, I'm saying take representative action against the public servants who signed the bloody paperwork. That's where the problem lies. Don't try and take on banks that are bigger than nations. Don't do that, that's silly.
What's really interesting about Iceland was that they sacked the government, and then they wrote online, everybody in the country, a new constitution.
Yeah.
And then they put on trial the heads of the banks and jailed them, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Do you think that's going to happen tomorrow in Greece?
It would be common sense. Sadly, we're lacking in that in Europe at the minute, but it would be good if it could. And this is the thing, I mean, there's a video online, if you look it up, about Massachusetts. I think it's in Massachusetts. They're taking a bunch of bankers to court on behalf of the people of Massachusetts for fraud and for over foreclosing and rubber stamping. Some notary, and I'm not, some notary is apparently in deep trouble over there for rubber stamping foreclosures. There is little pockets of activity, but there really needs to be something, bigger. But I don't mind if that takes a while. I'm not going to have my pace dictated by outside forces, because it's not until the people realise that they are needed to act.
I think one of the things that we're really struggling with in this country is that we're so comfortable. you know, there are an enormous a number of people in this country who tonight are warm and safe and sound, and their bills are just about paid, and their credit cards are just about paid off.
Yeah.
And you know, it does seem that change kind of springs out of desperation very frequently.
Yes.
Yet nearly all of us are kind of engaged somewhere along the line in paying off debts. And so, to answer the question I put earlier, I mean, I was in waiting for a pizza for 10 minutes this evening, and in that time I had a really amazing conversation with a guy who had no idea about the fact that he could be completely out of debt free within a month. And I've seen you identify in previous talks the fact that because people are so desperate to survive, they frequently feel that they don't have time to engage in other social concerns, like, you know, maybe acting on the people's public trust.
Absolutely.
And so my sense is that's often a great starting point with anyone, because the notion that you can be that we've been had in mortgages and all sorts of lending scams is a good point of entry, because suddenly when people find themselves with a bit more money in their pocket, they're actually able to start turning their attention to other concerns.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now the thing for me is, that's for me where the Bill of Peace comes in. That's what I'd like to see happen on that one, because because to me it's more than just mortgages, because not everybody has that. It's about the fact that our privacy has been so eroded, you're even billed for taking a crap. You know, for going to the toilet, you're even billed for that. It's like, which nutter in the government decided that that was a good idea? Do you know what I mean? To invade people's homes to the point that there was nowhere you could go and nothing you could do that wasn't going to be billed. And it's like, I'm sorry, that is such a degradation of duty on their part. But anyway, that's a different point. Yeah. But the thing for me is that I'd like to see the private line redefined. I know I mentioned that earlier, but it kind of covers the fact that the people own the resources. They're ours. So not just on the fact of having a bit of levity on your access to land and use of land, because property is just one particular use of land. The issue ahead of us is bigger than that. A lot of the cases I've been involved in the last year are about planning and building regs, and actually the issue goes beyond just property scam and fraud. It's about denying people access to land and denying them the use of land, and that is our fundamental connection to nature. And you know, to be denied that is absolute lunacy. That's why people are being driven crazy. That's why depression is so high. That's why people are being crammed into cities. It's because it makes them ill. We need to be able to access nature, and you know, this is it's a massive problem now. Michael of Bernicia with the Universal Community Trust is spearheading representative action on the mortgage scam and the mortgage fraud. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel on that. I'm supporting him on that, and that's brilliant. I actually don't have a mortgage, so I'm not really an interested party, legally speaking. But in terms of you know, the private relief for people, I'm very up for taking an action on that, or for being involved in an action if others feel like they would like to be involved in an action on that, where we redefined what the easement actually meant, and what it meant to have the boundary on the property there, and what it meant to be private property. Because really, the case there, resources are recognised as being ours, and in that case there's not only financial relief available for people, there's also going to be other forms of relief in terms of things that they can do in the privacy of their own home that they're not going to be called a criminal for.
So I'm interested on the subject of the if we were to choose as a nation to refuse to pay off the interest on our loans from the World Bank, and thereby freeing up all of our, you know, with the money.
50 million interest today in it.
Yeah,
absolutely. You silver-tongued man, you.
Well, being able to you know, I've tried to engage with people on that particular subject, and some people have a concern, justified or not, that this is going to have implications for our country on the global stage to suddenly refuse to pay off debts. What's your opinion on that?
Well, of course it is, because if we do it, there's about 50 other countries that are going to do it straight away the next day. If we pull it off in this country, honestly, the world will change. I guarantee it. This country has a lot, you know, has much greater reach than people are aware of. That's it's why it's so desirable for migrants. It's because there is something alluring about the United Kingdom.
Well, we are the crown, after all, of the whole.
Well, exactly. This is it. I mean, and everybody knows it in terms of if you want to look at Vatican, Washington D.C., and the City of London, then we're certainly one of the key places. And I think beyond that, anyway, there's a natural draw to here. Some incredible things and people have come out of this nation over the years, and I don't think anybody can deny that. And considering we're a very small island, that's quite a notable point. But you know, that aside, the point is, if we did it here as a leading nation of the world to turn around and stick two fingers up to the World Bank, honestly, that it would be an astonishing. Do you think how many African nations are going to pay their interest 3 weeks later if Britain have turned around and said no?
So how
that's why I think my concern is as to what, you know, that's what I think would happen. You know, and implications in terms of negative implications, I don't think there's any negative implications, none whatsoever.
I mean,
none of this money exists, none of it's real. Switch off all the computers and show me where it is.
Yeah.
How would you
Honestly.
deal with people like the Bilderbergs?
Sorry?
How would you deal with people like the Bilderbergs? You know, the people that are sort of making like these sort of globalised
Decisions and whatnot.
decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, how would I deal with them? That's a very, very good point. I'd like to give them very comfortable rooms. Very comfortable. Pillows on the walls, on the ceiling, on the doors. I'd like to give them special jackets that tie around the back for security. I'd like to give them nice, happy pills that make them feel good about themselves. Because that's what they do to everybody else who decides what they're doing is totally insane. Because they are insane. Now, you know, I'm not saying that about all of them. I think some of them are just misguided. But really, in terms of some of those individuals, I think they just need another job, perhaps on a lower salary, elsewhere. That's all. Give them a nice little, you know, abacus in a little office with a nice window, northern view, not southern view, and yeah, leave it at that, I think. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, and I think that's something. That was a long way to say I really don't know, but I don't know. But I think by taking, I don't think that matters. I think what happens is we have to act on the things we can identify we can do, like the things I'm talking about. They're actually things that we can do. We can do those things. You know, what we can't do is decide how would we personally litigate against some Bilderbergers. Let's wait until we do a few. You know, we grab ground a bit at a time and get more of us to remember that they're us and to get on board and to say, look, us, we let some outsiders come in and run the village, and it's all gone a bit potty. Look at what we trusted them to teach the kids. Look at what they've done. We trusted them to, you know, do the healthcare, and look at what they've done. We trusted them with our food, and look at what they've done. It's like, can we trust them? Well, maybe not. You know. Now I know the problem that you've got.
It's
Sorry,
like the Bilderberg, because that's just another story. It's not like literally
exactly,
a
brother.
right now.
Yes, brother, it's just a story. Let's forget all of that stuff, because the bubble gets huge. I mean, could be Bilderbergers, could be Nephilim and aliens, reptilian nutters, you know, whatever. I really don't care. That stuff's irrelevant to me. That's people's private opinion. You know, for me, it's about saying, okay, you know, we're all coming from different private opinions, but there are actually just a few things we can agree on. So should we just talk about them? Should we just if we do that, then we can still continue our private, personal stuff, but if we actually all began to work on something, what do you think might happen? And I think it's about going at it that way and realising that the organic side of it is determined by, you know, people's desire to actually be part of, you know, to give some change, basically.
I know you were being humorous, like when you were talking about padded cells and the such like, and I know that your ultimate, like, what I sense from you is that you're very much about us and us and getting beyond ideas of them and us. And my own personal feeling about that is that there's a lot of people who have maybe been in positions of power. Clearly they've found themselves where they are in their lives because of childhood trauma, because of upbringing, and God knows how many thousands of generations of you know, very full-on domination, mindset programming, and my sense is that there are many within, you know, that are attached to these power structures who I sense that they're subconsciously waiting for an atmosphere of forgiveness.
Interesting.
And I think that, you know, I'm certainly really seeking to like remove any sense of punishment from any of my language. I'm really looking to try and find a place where I'm up for people being held to account, just as with naughty children, we help them to realise where their behaviour is going beyond the bounds of what's acceptable.
Exactly.
But it's not about punishing them. It's about giving them the time out necessary to be able to realise that really, all that's been going on is that they've been very confused.
Yeah, I agree. Well said, brother.
And that is effectively what a padded cell is for, I know.
Yeah. But I mean, I will be honest with you, and you're absolutely. I mean, I work in mental health as well, and it's something of personal interest to me because I consider all of my work to come under the category of actually mental healing, because it really is one of the things that stands aside from our ever-increasing sense of unity is the somewhat critical, judgmental, occasionally self-abusing mind. And it's a really interesting part of our awareness because we're often told to leave it out of certain situations, which is a bit silly. But in relation to these people that we're talking about, I'm like you. That's why I'm adopting the position with the trust that I am, that it's completely us and us. My private position is that, people really have, I do believe there are some people who have genuinely, knowingly done wrong, but I'm not in a punitive mode because I am like you in that I think they have to be given a way out. Because if they're not given a way out, they've got a cornered mouse and they've got nothing to do but fight to the death. They really don't, because they've got nowhere to go, because they really have engaged in conduct which is absolutely nonsensical and ludicrous. And it's like, well, we've talked about it, we've seen it, and, we can, let them have a side door, basically, an extra stage left, because otherwise, it could get out of hand. But that being said, the issue of the certain people who are attached to the existing paradigms and existing structures purely through habit and purely through indoctrination is a real concern, because it is a form of mental indoctrination. They're institutionalized. It is a form of mental unwellness, and I genuinely believe that, because some of the conduct and decisions is genuinely sociopathic and psychopathic. And it's like, it needs to be approached gently, though, so that we can address it properly, but it is a proper issue. I've been in court, and you've got to think, people, if you've been in a court, they're riddled with Masonic symbology and oppressive kind of structuring to make sure you feel like that you are at the bottom of the chain in the structures that are there. And there's people who have gone in there almost every day for the last 40 years and sat in the high seat. And it's like, what do you think that does to one of our brothers' minds? What do you think that does? What do you think that does to go in wearing those robes and that funny wig for 20 years every day? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure some of them maintain their sense of humour and keep it objective, but I do think there's an element of, not padded cell stuff, but certainly like place to chill off stuff, like you were saying. Absolutely. Definitely, because it's like, it's, go and look at some butterflies and some flowers for a while, and, just get away from all this madness, because there is an element of madness in it. That has to be, I think, we shouldn't be afraid to talk about the lunacy of some of it.
Absolutely, we've just been joined by one of our brothers, Vic.
Hiya.
Hi,
Darren.
Hello, Vic. How's it going?
Yeah, all right, man.
Good, man. Good. Nice to meet you.
And you're going down a storm in the States, by the way. The chat room's saying you're doing well, man, so keep going.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if I'll be able to stay with you to the end, but
no,
I'll
that's fair enough,
if that's okay.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for the words of encouragement, folks, because certainly for the folks in the States, what we've been trying to do over here, I've had inquiries from people in the States and from Canada saying, some of them thinking that there were branches over there already. There is actually some paperwork that's been filed by an organisation calling themselves the People's Public Trust in California, which is fabulous. But the paperwork we've been working on this weekend is soon going to be made available for being able to start factions in America as well, and in Canada, because if we start to use the uniformity of presence, what message do you think that sends? That will be an astonishing thing if we can act as the expressing that trust of the people, expressing the trust people placed in their servants in all those magnificent nations at the same time, and then start to take perhaps the same representative actions or related representative actions, I think that to be an astonishing thing. And really, it's up to the listeners and then the people who hear them and then the people who hear them as to how quickly we can pull it off. I don't mind if it takes a while, because I do know, as one of you already mentioned, that people desire for change is driven by circumstance, and what that means, which is a bit, it's a bit sad to have to say it, but what it means is that the spiral of intensity that people are dropping into here is going to have to get a bit more intense until they realise they're going to have to act to get out of it. Because we can't do it alone. We can do it with a few thousand of us. We need a lot more. But I think with something as simple as the public trust, as simple as the terminology that I'm using, where you don't have to learn stuff, you can talk to your granny about it. You really can, and that kind of that ability to share it and disseminate it gives it the potential to be a touch fire. Especially when you've got documents like the public trust document out of the Committee of Standards and Public Life. It's like, come on, here it is, written in black and white. How do you feel?
Is that on the People's Public Trust there?
It's not on the website.
It's not on the website yet. No,
behind the scenes, because that's the thing. That website that's up there is a draft. That was when I was still just putting this out as a concept, because I'm not a web designer, and I basically, now volunteers have come forward saying, "I'm a web designer, I'll do it." And a couple of them are now working behind the scenes there. But this is really about what this trust is about. It's about ownership. It's about saying, this is my community, and do you know what? I can give it 10 minutes a week. I can give it an hour a week, or whatever. And even if you can give it that, we can find a job, can take that length of time that can help out and make the whole thing start to move. And even the smallest snowflake soon becomes an avalanche. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what it requires. And it's not asking. What we're doing is, everybody's life is busy, everybody's life is full, everybody wants to be doing the nice things and the good things. So me too, the point is, if we can all, divvy it up between us so nobody's got too much of a big job to do, then actually it's dead easy. Everybody does a little bit, and we soon start to enjoy some incredibly increased quality of services for the same spend. And that's really...
Imagine how much time would be spent if everybody just gave an hour.
Well, exactly. Oh my goodness me!
Well, 8 million people. If 8 million people give an hour, that's 8 million hours, which is more than time is available in the whole universe.
Exactly. That's it. And if we all start to use what we're doing is this is why it's taking a while to do some of the behind the scenes stuff, is because it's getting the right people to come in on board, which we've got a few of now. But email us at trustmatters@peoplespublictrust.com if you want to get involved, if you want to offer anything. This is the time where we're incubating, and we've had a lot of requests for help. We'll soon be able to answer them, but at the moment it's still we're still incubating. It's still something you've got to put into before we can take out of. I've completely lost my thread there. I forgot what
you've done so well. I'd like to, before you leave, I'd like to personally thank you for putting out the ideas that you have been. It's a beautiful thing, and really inspired that you're continuing to work in the way that you are. Thank you.
Brother, it's a pleasure. The point for me is allowing for our human foibles and weaknesses. What I try to build into everything that I'm doing is about saying that, none of us are perfect. We can actually build this into our structures. We can actually all contribute. Nobody can be overloaded. We have, I think, been guilty of taking ourselves a bit too seriously as a species, and expecting a bit too much from ourselves and each other. We've got this big aloof sort of, hierarchical, commercial, business-like expectation, and it's like, that's just busyness. There's not a silent I in business for no reason, because we don't say the word for what it is. It's just busyness. It's just filling in time. That's not the real stuff. Really what we want to do, I think, is get the balance a bit better. And I think what I'm trying to do is be more evocative than trying to dictate what that'll look like, because I don't know. I think we have to start all scratching our heads a bit and being honest about the fact, well, hey, I don't know, and you don't know, so should we just try some stuff and see how we go, and be a bit more allowing in that vein.
And if we could sort of mention our American and New Zealand friends, our sort of model of government is based on what the whole world sort of, or at least the West world in the West do. So it can be adapted to each different country very easily, I would imagine.
Absolutely, and I am happy to help anybody anybody in any nation who wants to set up People for Public Trust in their area, I'm happy to help them tweak it for their area and for their region. Why? Because it's like this can work anywhere. Anywhere there's paid public servants, it can work, and it's instantly usable. So please do get in touch. trustmatters@peoplespublictrust.com. And if anybody's interested in my other work that I do, the perception, gender, language, all the rest of it, if you like the sound of the stuff I've been talking about, the stuff in the People's Public Trust is really just an application of it. There's loads of stuff to help people handle the situations in these incredibly intense times. Get in touch with me at darren@alternativeanswers.net. My website is going through redevelopment at the moment, but it is at www.alternativeanswers.net. Please do get in touch with me. Here to help. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, maybe we could get you on again at some point. Maybe when you come down, and you can talk a bit more about the alternative solutions. Did you call it the alternative answers?
Yeah. That's more about the spells and the spelling and the language.
Yeah, that's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's where it's at.
We've got a few other people sort of coming on in the future on our little show to sort of talk along. There's a guy called Steve Wilner who we're hoping to get on, who deals a lot about that, about the spells of language, and it's all eggs and serpents basically, isn't it?
Well, I tell you what, it's an incredible thing. The whole of human language is an incredible thing, and there's a lot more to it than people are aware of. So I promise you, when I come down to see you guys, I'll come on again, not a problem, quite happy to. But before I go, I'll talk about just a little bit on that sort of stuff, just to put it on at a different tangent.
Yeah, no, please do, yeah.
So it's really all about understanding that the problems that we're experiencing in our species are because of a bunch of mispointed spells, things that aren't pointing in the right place. That's why we feel separate, we feel disjointed, we feel disconnected. It's because our mind is like has been shaped by our society into a square peg in a round hole. And the correction of the spells, like the collar cuff tie, the things like that, is what helps. That's why it instantly makes sense. It instantly frees things up. There's another word, another spell that's an interesting one that we were told means way in. But if you look at where we use it, it's very interesting. And that is the word entrance, exactly. So entrance, everybody thinks, way in. That isn't what that word says. The word is entrance. It has always said entrance, and you look at what happens when you walk through those establishment doors. You have all the promises of allure and satisfaction, and it's all a lie. Do you know what I mean? It's tainted goods. It's an entrance. But they're just examples. The other thing to think of is, is how. So, like, I also do stuff on sound and the use of sound, because language is an application of sound. But music is another application of sound that we give great credit for, but sound is much more significant to us humans. And I'll go through a few words just to show you how significant it is. We have the word universe. And the universe, if we look at that as a word, it's sound related. It's about uni, which is one or unified, and then verse is obviously part of a songful phrase. We have in the beginning was the word, and a word is a sound. We have the Big Bang Theory. In the beginning was the bang. I mean, that's science and religion agreeing, saying in the beginning there was a sound. Just one of them says it was a bang, the other one says it was a word. Then you've got words like in tune and at-one-ment, which is really atonement. And if you look at your body parts inside, what do you call them? Your hearts and your lungs, they're your organs. It's a musical instrument. If you wanted to measure the space in the room that you're sitting in it, what's it called?
The volume.
It's the volume.
Yeah.
We die, decompose.
You decompose. You've seen this before, right? You decompose. Exactly, you decay. And then the most important one of all, the one that shows there's actually rules to language that spans time and spans all languages, is the fundamental building block of the universe. Because in Western science, what do they call it? What's the fundamental building block of the universe?
An atom.
It's an atom. In Hindu philosophy, that which lies behind all matter, 7,000 years ago, they said the fundamental building block of the universe is the Om.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, the funny thing is, they said behind all that is manifest, you will find that which is Om. And then we have, further in the future, we've got Western science saying, well, actually, if you look behind everything, you will find the At-Om. Mm-hmm. What do you think that's talking about? That's not an accident. The point is there's rules to all of this stuff, and that's where I go with the spells and the language stuff, is because I actually realizing that we can decode language. And that one of the things that's really interesting is that as a species, humanity agree on nothing at the moment. We agree on nothing because everything needs translated. If you walk in a straight line within a few hundred miles, people aren't going to understand you anymore. Certainly if that's the case here in Europe, you know, by the time you walk a little bit, folk aren't going to know how you speak. We are bizarrely virused in our ability to communicate with each other as a species. What is going on with that? We just have this little myth of the Tower of Babel as to what's happening with that. But really, it's a significant thing that we can't agree on anything as a species. And what do they say about divided? Divided we fall. You know, but I think that by recouping what we can do in language and in sound and blah, 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 you know, a whole load of magical things can happen. But anyway, that's a totally different story.
Well, it's everything's frequency, isn't it? So, you know,
absolutely.
Light, sound, everything.
Absolutely.
Just all vibrate at a different resonance. And, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. It's all good. Well, we'll talk about that more, and more about the spell stuff, because that's really quite an interesting aspect of it, because it really affects our everyday experience. We'll talk about that when I come down and see you guys. How does that sound?
Excellent.
Well,
it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darren. It's been fascinating, as we knew it would be.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope I've not been too repetitive on stuff that you may have heard before, but obviously there's people out there who haven't heard it, so I've had to say it.
Sure.
But, you know,
it's all good stuff anyway, mate.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to, you know, if you've got any group that you want me to speak or teach for or whatever, give me a shout. You know, that's what I'm here for. That's the point. This is what I'm here for. That's what more needs to be said. You know what I mean? So yes, it was Public Trust, Alternative Answers. Love you all. I'm going to head off and go back to a birthday party, if that's
happy
okay.
Birthday, Darren.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you very much indeed, and I'll see you guys soon. Much love to you all.
We'll be in touch through the week, mate. Yeah.
Cheers. Peace.
Cool.
Thank you. Bye.
Peace. Well, my God. That was Darren Deojee there. And we've got Caroline and Jay have joined us.
Hey, can you hear?
Yeah, I'm here.
You guys did an excellent job. I posted his website all over the place on Facebook. Steve, forgive me, I couldn't remember you messaged me on Facebook, so I remember yours. But it's on Resets, it's on Swami's, it's on, and Jay, give me yours again so we can hook up again. And it's on yours, Nick, and somebody else put it on Friends of Freeman. I put it on here with the Friendship Agenda, the Skype thing we got. And thank you, Swami, for helping me try to feel better. And you guys are excellent. Nick, snagging this guy was awesome. I listened, and it's on your page. It's on my page on Facebook. And somebody please put it up on Friends of Freeman.
Already.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then I found that one interview with him. I don't know if you've gotten that up there with him yet. I think Darren is excellent. And I Googled, and you have to be careful. There's like a million people's trust stuff, you know,
you're
bullshit.
right.
So, you know, I'm so glad he was very articulate about the actual name. So it's on the Skype thing right now, and, you know, the Friendship Agenda Skype thing. But it's on my page, it's on your page, Nick, it's on Reset's page, Swami's page, and, you know, I really think he's got a great idea. And, man, I'm telling you, the three of you guys together, I could have listened to you guys for the next 5 hours. You guys were awesome. Really, you both need to hug each other. You guys did a fabulous job.
What do you think of our new member, Ian?
I'm sorry?
Did you hear our new member, Ian?
Yeah, well, everybody, you know, Ian's a great... I was only listening bits and pieces because I was a little bit distracted trying to post a lot of stuff, but, you know, I listened to 99% of what you guys were doing, and I just want to say, and I got to say again to Nick, that is so cool that you found him. And Steve, man, you were just right on target. I'm talking about spot on, guys. You guys deserve a big hug from everybody.
No. Thank you, Caroline.
One of the best interviews I've ever heard. Seriously, it's really awesome.
Yeah, this is quite easy. He's quite a very good speaker.
Well, you know, and you know, I had not heard about him before until Nick let me know that this week, and like I said, I watched what Nick sent me, and then I found another interview, and And, you know, I'm so glad he gave, like I said, the actual addresses, because people trust. I was getting sent to banks and credit unions and all kinds of from the Tea Party to Occupy bullshit. You were all over the place. But I'm so glad he gave, because it is www.peoplespublictrust.com and www.alternativeanswers.net. And, you know, and without the actual address, you can go all over the place. And he is on Facebook, and hopefully he'll become a Friend of Freeman member. But I'm telling you, you guys were just awesome. I was like going, this is really, I mean, everybody should be on their hands and knees bowing in front of you guys. You guys were awesome.
Right, Caroline, we're just going to have a little bit of a smoke break.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little bit of techno there. Hello!
We're back. We have type online.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Reset.
Yeah, Reset.
Hey there. Just curious, how much time do we actually have left in the show? It seemed like we had a different running time last week.
We have...
We've got half an hour left.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Our podcast hour. Read it then.
Has anybody got anything to bring to the group?
Carolyn, are you there?
Well, yeah, I'm here. I just happened to walk back up to the monitor. Hey, I am very serious. Believe it or not, I got some really strange messages because I was afraid the delay about getting the place in Blackwater was going to F things up, but I actually got contacted by people in Blackwater, and man, they're still hot on.
Don't have that on.
Going, huh?
Mute your mic.
Who, me?
No, Steve, we're hearing him behind you. Go on, Carolyn.
I was going to say, I got contacted actually by the city of Blackwater last night, which kind of freaked me out. And they are still very high on, they know exactly what I want to do. They know I want to do the sanctuary. They know there's going to be businesses brought there, and that's why, you know, all the folks listening, we're going to have jobs, too, because I'm going to have that, the place where we're going to make hemp toys for cats and dogs that are going to be healthier. Plus, I've got the guys who really, they still want to do the biodomes, and I've still got people that we're gonna build small kits of solar things that anybody can use. And I'm telling you, these things are going to be the way they've been designed. They're going to be less. It's going to cost less than $200 to build. Anybody can have them, whether you're in an urban or a city situation. They'll run a fan, a radio, a TV, a refrigerator, whatever you need in an emergency situation. I've been very busy getting the people. They're going to put together packages, and I've been giving people, you know, suggestions. And I've gone to about 10 suppliers. I'm hoping to get about 5 serious. I mean, everybody has positively responded, but I want 5 serious responses. That we're going to have packages of seeds to send to people that are heritage seeds, organic, non-germinating, no Monsanto bullcrap, that people can use, everything from stevia to tomatoes to that wonderful tea tree plant from New Zealand and Australia that if the honeybees use it, the honey is awesome. I've been talking to beehive guys in the United States, Canada, and elsewhere, but I have to be very careful. The United States is very freaky about what you can import as far as bugs and insects. But this will help the worldwide people too, because I am continuing to contact people in South America, Asia, New Zealand, Australia, Europe, Iceland, Australia. Everybody's got different networks, but we're also going to get very healthy beehive things available. And now some of the stuff we can't do wherever the sanctuary is because like certain things have to be done in other countries because of the, you know, transport rules. So we're going to need sanctuaries in Europe, in England, in Ireland, in New Zealand, in Australia, in Central and South America. And like I said, certain countries are even more locked, so we have to be You know, we can do this, so I don't give a damn if we got to put them on goddamn yachts or some old freighter or a barge someplace and make it legal. But we're going to have bees, which we need. That's I think that's actually why this bee colony collapsed, to try to get rid of them. But I came from St. Louis, where Monsanto's at, and trust me, I know people there, and I've been getting inside information, and I'm going to get more of this stuff out. And I don't care. They can fucking kill me. I'm going to get the information out. Because we really do need to get these non-germinating, they're sending out more and more seeds that won't even germinate. Now, how obscene is that? I mean, and these people call themselves Christians. What kind of bullshit is that? Pardon my rant. But I'm sorry, I don't care if you're Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, Muslim. I don't care if you worship, rats. That is the most asinine thing I've ever heard, for anybody to develop seeds that won't germinate. I mean, that anybody would even allow it to happen. That's like these horrible, sew 2 dogs on a dog's body head, things that they used to do. But we're going to get this done, and I was stunned last night when the city of Blackwater contacted me, because I was afraid the delay had caused that. And there's still 2 other counties in Missouri that want to bid to me to bring the sanctuary there. Because what we're going to do is not only have housing for people that's reasonable, we're going to have an RV place, we're going to have a camping place so people can bring their own. Nobody has to feel that they're controlled, and everybody's going to contribute to whatever their extent is, okay? But also we're going to grow our own. We're going to have a dome, so it's 12 months a year. We're going to have underground stuff, too, so we're going to have everything from the mushroom, everything. But also we're going to have storage units, so people getting screwed that are getting foreclosed are going to have a place to store their stuff, and a reasonable place that's not going to rip them off the minute they're 1 day late, okay? And I think if we can do this, this can be an example for other people. And, man, Darren was awesome. And, I mean, I wasn't bullshitting you. Really, Nick, you and Steve were just awesome today. I mean, really, seriously. And, Nick, everybody deserves to give Nick a big pat on the back, because I guess it was you found him and then you snagged him. This was a great find. This guy was awesome.
Yep. Nick's actually out having a smoke right now with but he's amazing, Darren Deojee. There's another guy who's just like him called Michael, or Benicia, who he mentioned, and we're going to get him on again, or we're going to get him on real soon, hopefully. He's another amazing human being.
Make sure. Nick,
I'm glad you liked it, because he's although he's very British in what he says, it does apply to everybody around the world.
Well, as soon as you guys learn English, more people will understand. But, and really, Steve, I really want to say you were excellent today too. A lot of people because we tease you about your accent and stuff, but I'm telling you, the 2 of you guys today with Darren. I mean, I want to cut that piece and make sure somebody gets it up on YouTube, because what you guys did today was really awesome. And please make sure Nick hears what I said, because he deserves a big hug from everybody.
Yeah, no, we love our Sonic. He's a good man. He does a lot.
We're still waiting for his damn CD.
Well, it's coming. Apparently, it's done. It's not anything to do with him now. It's the record company. But we've got 15 minutes? I did promise Freighter earlier that we'd give him a shout out and tell him that the great John Lamb Lash is on his show tonight. He's, I believe he calls him his co-host. He's going to be on Freighter's show later, so everybody tune into that. And
Freighter does a great job.
He does, doesn't he? He's got.
Everybody listen to his Joseph P. Farrell episode. That was actually just absolutely excellent. Hey, Herb said he wants to come on, so if Herb...
Yeah, Herb Guy, hi. Herb Guy, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Good, man. Yep, loud and clear.
Hey, so Carolyn, how are you doing on funding? Are you like the rest? Are you good? Or are you like the rest of us and still like scratching your head about the funding thing?
Okay, as far as where I'm at right now, I'm paid up through the rest of the month as far as this hotel, and anybody wants to come to a place to stay temporarily, and I'm not patting these guys on the back, but I've been bouncing around literally like a fugitive for the last since March of 2009, This is actually the sanest place I've ever stayed in my life. These guys work with you. They don't kick people out. It's a safe place. They take people of all economic income, and hopefully it's going to get warm again. It's going to go down to below 9 degrees Fahrenheit today. But they're going to get the pool open. There's an exercise place. You get a healthy breakfast in the morning. I can't even make this up. You get there's organic bars. There's bagels with real cream cheese, real butter, real milk, orange juice, cranberry juice, apple juice. And I mean, they have cracked wheat bread, not just bullshit cheap bread. I mean, these guys are awesome here, and you know, this is the first time I've had about 5 times the cable channels. Though I wish they had BBC America. That hurts me. I love BBC America. I can't wait to see Ab Fab's new thing out. But you know, this is the best place I've been. I've got more rooms, and it's the cheapest place I've been. So, anybody wants to find out about that, get me on Facebook. I'll tell you, because it's American Best Value Inn or something. The guy owns like 2 of these. He's an awesome guy. But as far as the other stuff goes, whoever comes to the sanctuary, contribute what you can. I know everybody's in different straits. I'm still fighting for my house. Originally, it was insured for $185,000, which is cheap to most people in America. But seriously, Missouri was very cheap as far as housing goes. I don't know what it's going to be worth now. The last insulting offer I had was $40,000, but that was a crooked guy offering me cash, and I wasn't going to take it. You know, I'm going to get these patents done. I now got 3 patents instead of 2 going through. You know, the one is the flexible solar panels, one's the vibratory energy generator, and then there's also the atmospheric water generator. So, I mean, once you go through, I'm going to share that because I don't want to. At my point in life, I don't need anything but a bunch of toys and to feed my cats and chickens and goats or whatever else we can put on board. So, you know, I don't expect anybody else to come. We don't need rich people. If we can get some rich content, that's great. But you know, I said anybody ever wants to contribute a pizza or beer, I'll never say no to that. But yeah, Risa, you're awesome, and like I said, I put all of Darren's sites on my page and on Nick's and on yours and Swami. So, gosh, I think we need to set up a public trust that he did. I think that's part of it.
So I've got some ideas for you, Carolyn.
What? Throw them out.
You're talking about all these tangible services that the sanctuary is going to offer, or any intentional community, or any residential ashram or whatever you want to call it. Any of those things could offer, and I've got some other ones. Make it have a restaurant, have lodging, have room and board, have a brewery. Personally, I'm going to brew beer. It's one of the things that I've been meaning to do for years. As soon as I have it. But
one of the reasons I love you,
but this is Herb Guy. I'm hanging out at Reset's house.
I'm sorry. I just typed Reset's name and I said it wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, but So I've been watching the permaculture design certificate course. I tried sending to you, Carolyn. I don't think it went through. But so toward the very end, I finally got through the whole thing. There's like a whole section on local economy, which I kind of shuddered at because I kind of have an aversion to money. But Bill Mollison had some really good ideas. One of them is promissory notes. If you're trying to get something up and running, it's everything that's good about a loan without going through a bank, without the interest, and it's everything that's good about borrowing money except without the not being able to get people to donate money. What you do is you issue your own local currency. You issue promissory notes that are good for $100 worth of meals at your restaurant, or $100 worth of beers, or $100 worth of room and board, and you just issue out enough of those to get the money that you need for the startup capital. And if you're doing your networking, then you've got what you need to get going, and eventually, it just builds and builds until you're sitting in complete abundance. And I've always known that this was going to happen, that there is a way, and I just haven't always necessarily known how to make that happen, and this is one of the ways I think that we can start to make that happen.
Guy, have you looked at the UTC website, freetheplanet.com?
No, I haven't.
You check that one out, man. That's pretty much what you're talking about.
Yeah. Family trusts.
Family trusts and the like sort of thing. It's the way forward. What did you make of the guy who was just on? Guy.
What's that?
What did you make of the guy who was just Darren? The guy who was on?
I like what Darren has to say a lot. I was kind of shooting the shit with Reset a lot, so it didn't really answer all my questions. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it again.
Yeah, it'd be a good one to listen to because he's amazing. This guy, yeah. But there's another guy around who's similar, who's on about this promissory note. Sort of, he's on about forming a spiritual bank that will actually accept promissory notes and change them into credit.
But there's also Roger Hayes, who's creating the lawful bank as well.
The lawful bank?
Yeah. Where I think the idea is it's using the fractional reserve system,
yeah,
but to our benefit.
Yeah.
So you say you deposit say like £1 or $1, and you get the use of 10.
Right. So effectively what they do now?
Yeah. So if you put in 100, you can get 1,000.
So you do actually have to deposit money.
Yeah, but then you can create your own promissory notes.
Right.
So you give 100, you deposit £100, and you can write a promissory note for £1,000. So everybody's using their own wealth. I think we're saying that if you go up to like 100,000, you get like 550 grand to use.
Not a million.
I think it goes up in the increments. Sort of the more you go up the parity, it becomes. I think the second you deposit a second 100,000, you'd only get to 100,000. So what the idea he's got is if people have got that sort of cash and they've got another 100,000, is to get somebody else to deposit so they get the benefit and then they get the cash back.
Right.
So it's sort of.
So you can't have you can only have so much.
Yeah. It wouldn't. Yeah.
So there'd be nobody with 15 Ferraris and somebody with just a push bike. Wow.
And Herb, did you check out the airline courier thing that I sent you? Forgetting about, internationally.
That's on a growing list I have of things that I need to check out.
You've always got a growing list of things that you need to do.
Yeah.
How are you finding Minnesota then? Is it nice?
It's chilly. I was looking out the window. I'm like, yeah, no snow. This is gonna be good. And then I got off the train and my nose hairs froze and my lungs seized up and the wind shot right through my pants and I was like, oh!
And Reset turned up in a t-shirt.
Yeah. I layered my clothes a little more shortly after that, and now I'm sad.
Thermal, my brother.
But I'm liking it. I'm hanging out with one of my good friends has put me up, and I'm out here hanging out, and I'm glad that I've.
Another Brett and Brandon.
Yeah. What are you going to stay at Reset's house? Yeah.
I'm staying. I used to live out here, so I'm staying with a buddy of mine that I've known for more than half my life. But I'm glad that I've gotten to meet one of my fellow friends of Freeman too.
Yeah, man, I'd love to meet Reset. It'd be great.
Yeah, Reset's a cool dude.
He is, yeah, he definitely is.
He says buy me a plane ticket.
It's not that
Well, you got to become an airline.
Yeah, just write him a promissory note from us, and we write you one to give back when he comes.
Hey, I got to tell you guys, we got 3 helicopter pilots want to come to the sanctuary. We're going to build a helicopter pad. Does that help at all?
No, Britain. You can't do Britain in a helicopter from the
Hey,
States.
yeah, you don't know the helicopters I know. Hey, we can take fucking A, fracking A, you know?
So you happy with that Reset? A helicopter ride to Brighton?
Your pilots will be Carolyn.
Hey, don't laugh. One of my bucket list things is to learn how to fly a helicopter. I had to do that so many times when
that'd be better. Caroline flying you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only going to have the title of sheriff in Blackwater, I'm going to be called pilot. So you better start calling me captain. I'll kick you in the jewels. You know.
You think you'd ever stop talking long enough to fly a helicopter, Caroline?
No. Hey, I can tell you, we got local people listening, and they're all saying they want everybody to come here because we all want to be on the front line because everybody's giving shit here because we're all hearing about how the New Madrid Fault. There's all kinds of big shit going on as far as like alarms, and every town along the New Madrid Fault is having all kinds of emergency tests and all kinds of stuff. So everybody's freaking out here, and I'm telling you, we're going to get the sanctuary here, and there's so many people that are saying, I'll move out of Missouri and all this, but hey, somebody's got to stay in the front line. But I'm telling you, I just got the hotel people, I just got a beer from the housekeeper. They're listening, and I got to say, this is the best place. I got to say it again, American Best Value Inn. Okay, and the Country Kitchen people next door, he's a cool guy. He's got some UFO stuff. He wants to come on. He wants to come on here and talk about some stuff. He wants to come on Type 1 and talk about all his UFO experiences. He's at the Country Kitchen. The people at the Country Kitchen are listening. So I'm telling you, we're going to have this happen, and we're all Brighton, I think, is going to be the center for the Type 1 radio, which is going to be the national. It's not going to be. It's going to be the international radio show.
Already. It is already.
No, it's not. But it's going to be on.
Can I just say that Fly Chick's Kitchen is the most amazing kitchen, and you can come here and you can get your breakfast, and it's just I love it.
Yeah.
Hey. Well, you got to give us a link to that, but I tell you, Debbie and you, we're gonna wait. You guys got to start setting up a place on the coast for everybody to come because we're gonna make that the 7 days, 24-hour-a-day site. I'm telling you, Type 1, 24/7.
Huge, man. Everybody come here.
Yeah.
We've got the biggest kitchen in Brighton.
Okay, we're coming.
Yep.
Can I immigrate with Cass, though? You never found you.
Oh,
what? Many?
90 seconds till the live show ends. So, thank you everybody for listening. Darren was
thank you, Darren Deojee, and thank you, Ian, as well, from freebeans.co.uk.
And Darren is at the People's Public Trust.
And he will return on the 24th of April.
Yeah.
So you'll be hearing more from Darren Deojee, for sure.
Watch this space. And next week, hopefully, we'll be having Carl Hunt on the show. Maybe through the week, we're going to have Flawless Science come on as well. So, these Type 1 2012 people.
And Five Chicks lined up, and another amazing guest as well, whose name I forget, but he's incredible.
Hey, go to Sonic's page on Facebook and Darren's page is www.peoplepublictrust.com and alternativeanswersnet. And Steve, do you want to give your Facebook page or is that secret?
I don't have a Facebook page.
Well, okay. Well, we won't say it, but you and Debbie, you
Type
and
1 Radio Lounge, Facebook.
They're not on
Lounge, Type 1 Radio Lounge, Blogspot, Friends of Freeman. Yeah. Excellent.
Steve DeBaffy on Friends of Freeman, Azoth on Friends of Freeman, and Sonic on everything Sonic related with a P.
Hey, Reset's here, Swami's here, and Darren and Daria. There's a whole bunch of Friends of Freeman folks on Facebook. But seriously, go to Sonic's page, and when Sonic's CD gets out, please buy his CD.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm serious. Because the guy, but he spends so much time getting real information out there.
I'm going to buy 1 million of them with a promise.
But his music is good. I'm not going to get a penny from this, and I don't want a penny, though. I do want a free CD, you asshole. But he does good stuff.
You burn the CD yourself.
Yeah. I'm probably going to get arrested for all the supernaturals I download. Kidding?
Gene still needs the artwork, my friend. Mr. Aiken, get in touch.
Aiken, is it round? Look.
Yeah.
Johnny Show. So anyway, Jay, are you around still?
Yeah, I'm still around.
How you doing, man? Haven't heard from you all night. Adolf with us. All right there, Jay.
Pretty good. Actually, I've been working on a concept. I think I figured a way to produce what would be called a time reverse stream.
We did.
Cool. Go on then.
Okay. If you take a scalar wave and you add a regular radio wave to it, what happens? It cancels out part of the scalar wave and changes it into an antiphoton. An antiphoton moves in reverse. It moves into the past instead of moving into the future. So if you apply this type of antiphoton energy to a cell, it should regenerate the cell.
Far out, brother.
Yeah.
So you could possibly cause rejuvenation of the entire body to that of a 20-year-old if you're, or whatever. You know, anti-aging.
Yeah.
Have you got any practice?
Well, I'm waiting on my ferrite rods, and I'm going to build a model and test it on myself, of course.
A ferrite. What's a ferrite rod?
Yeah, they use them in electronics. They wrap them to make coils and stuff.
What kind of coils?
Like transformer coils.
All right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh. Where'd you get them? eBay?
Yeah, usually I order them on eBay and place some order, and I think in either Yugoslavia or Czechoslovakia or something like that. And it takes a long time to get them. It takes a little over a month.
Yeah.
And
Okay. What are you generating the scalar wave with? You have one of your devices?
I'm using a tensor coil. Here, I'll send a picture of a tensor coil so you know what it is.
Yeah.
We can't do it on BTR. I forget. If you look on my Facebook page, on my time page there, you'll see a picture of what's called a caduceus coil. Well, part of the unit uses a caduceus coil. The radio frequency is sent through that caduceus coil, and then there's a radio wave that is attached to the ferrite rod, and off that the other end of the ferrite rod should produce the anti-time energy. But since I hooked this way to BTR the way I did, I can't Skype you a file. It won't allow me to Skype you a file.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Jay. You on the?
Yeah, on Facebook. On my Facebook.
The Radio Lounge one, yeah.
Yeah.
Type in Jay Markham there in the top.
Where here?
Yeah.
There it is.
Wait, I can send. Yeah, I know how to send it.
No, I'm on Facebook, right? So where do I go?
Wait, I'm sending it to you through the Friendship Agenda instead of.
I'm on Facebook, man. Do it on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of what a caduceus coil looks like. Okay, it's being sent right now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's on the friendship agenda on Skype.
Cadius.
How do you pronounce it? Caduceus?
Yeah. Now what you do is you send a radio wave through that coil, and you send a radio wave into the ferrite.
Mm-hmm.
The radio wave you send into the ferrite is the normal radio wave. When you send it to the caduceus coil, it creates a scalar wave of the same frequency. Now what happens is the radio wave will break up the scalar wave, and that means the photon energy of the scalar wave disappears, and what's left is the antiphoton, or time reverse. You end up with time reverse wave. Now, if you send it as an electrical wave, you instead of getting an electron from it, you would end up getting a positron, which means you'd be running what they call negative or radiant. You'd be having radiant or negative energy, which has just the opposite properties of electricity, because it's a time reverse. It's a time reverse energy instead of distance.
But what time gets reversed? What you point, what you direct it at? Like, you say you regenerate your body, but wouldn't everything else around you sort of go back in time as well? Or is that a directed thing?
No, you wouldn't be sending enough energy to break the threshold of your average.
Yeah, your surroundings. Yeah.
All you'd be doing is absorbing enough to reverse the time in your cells. So you could rejuvenate your cells. If you got cancer cells, it would rejuvenate them into normal cells.
Okay.
So how would you do that? Would you have some kind of chamber that you go into or something?
No, you just you turn it on and you get yourself into the field for treatments over a period of time. If you spent too much time in there, you would lose a lot of your age.
Turn into a babe.
In other words, you only want to be under its influence a little bit at a time. You don't want to end up as a baby or something.
Yeah. Start it all again. Go through it all again. No, like,
yeah, you don't want to start it all over.
But 10, 15 years ago.
20 years ago even. Just bask in the fountain of youth for a while.
But do you retain your knowledge then, or do you lose? Do you regress that way as well?
Well, you never lose your knowledge.
You've never lost your knowledge. You've only forgotten it.
So would your perceptions be the same? As they are now, only younger. Because the say youth is wasted in the young.
Well, your perception should be the same.
Wow. So your consciousness will remain the same, but everything else will change.
So do you want me to send you some people?
Yeah, your consciousness is what creates time in the first place, so it wouldn't be affected by the time wave. Your focus creates time. It creates the three-dimensional universe as well, so...
Dead here. Somebody say something. What's you know? So when have you got a prototype of this working, James?
Well, no, I'm waiting. So far, I'm waiting on the ferrite for it. Then I'll probably have it built within a week once the ferrite gets here, because as you see, the caduceus coil only has 3 wraps on it.
Yeah.
It's very simple. And,
Yeah.
And I got an auto frequency generator, so I can turn it, the auto frequency generator on it, and
is that
throw one of the waves through it through the ferrite to cause the wave to be produced, And since this auto frequency generator will go up to about 100K, I can set it for 100K, and it can make 100K radio wave go through there to produce the anti-photon. Now, I have a feeling that our Earth's time, is set by 8 cycles a second. It's the planetary resonance.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're running 100,000 times faster in frequency, what will happen? You should reverse approximately about 10,000 times quicker. So if you spend a minute in there, it'd be like spending 10,000 minutes under Earth time, except in a reverse direction.
Right. Well, do you reckon maybe
you could rehearse a band?
Like time, the time speeding up, that maybe we're just getting
in other words, if you have a 10,000 fold differential, if you spent one day in it, it would be like spending reducing your age 10,000 days.
That'd be like Narnia.
So yeah, it'd be quite a few years, probably 10 or 15 years in a matter of one day's treatment.
That's pretty crazy.
And with this type of device, you could live forever in the physical body.
So you designed this yourself, Jay?
Yeah, well, this is what I'm work on right now. It just come to me, so I...
Oh, this is called the Caduceus coil, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think Hermes had one of those?
Well, yeah, basically what the Hermes had the snake represented as the snake on either side that was intertwining.
Mm-hmm.
See, one technology is the same, you know. It's just
that's what I'm looking at it now. That's what it reminds me.
Yeah, definitely. That's Caduceus.
Caduceus. Magic wand.
Well, and Hermes was also Mercury, which was the messenger god, and also the god of healing. Basically the god of healing as well.
Okay. Have you got a zapper, Jay? Have you got a zapper?
No, I don't believe in them.
You don't believe in them? Okay.
No. You know why? Because there are beneficial bacteria and stuff in your body as well.
Yeah.
And so it's not holistic to kill everything in the first place. What you need to do is remove the problem, which is some sort of energy problem generally. Remember, bacteria and other things have a tendency to transmute into other things depending on the conditions in your body in the first place, so it doesn't really matter. If you keep a positive outlook on things and use a little bit of technology, you can have no problems at all, as long as you face your own emotions and you don't make judgments on those emotions and then repress them, so you don't face them.
Yeah, exactly. Non-identification, a neutral event.
Yeah. As long as the event's neutral and there's no charge on it, it's not going to affect the body. It's not going to create any blockage. Remember, diseasement's usually a blockage in the body. It's being ill at ease or stressed out.
I've heard that one. Disease, yeah.
Disease, yeah. That's for sure.
Bacteria and stuff, a lot of those bacteria and stuff are always symbiotic with all animals and stuff, because they help digest your food and create nutrients for the body.
So good for you, yeah. Definitely.
Sounds like a good idea, Jay.
Yeah. Friendly bacteria, so they keep on telling us in, what's that advert? Yakult. We've got a yogurt over here with friendly bacteria in it.
Yeah, Activa.
Yeah.
But in Activa, they've got aspartame.
Aspartame as well. Cancels it out, doesn't it?
Shit. I'm sure there's nothing in Yakult though. Surely that's just...
Yeah, it just tastes horrible. It's bloody expensive.
Yeah. For a little shot of like Reddit.
Yeah. So you go do you haven't experimented with this yet, Jay?
No, I'm waiting for the parts.
Waiting for the parts. Yeah, well, be sure to let us know when it.
I will.
It'll be good fun, yeah. So have you what was the other? I was going to say that.
We're all a little baked now.
Yeah, but Jade, but after Darren was quite a. We knew he'd be good, but he just went on a whirlwind and it was excellent.
Yeah.
Steve, what the hell was that? You gotta speak English. What the hell was that?
I was just about to ask Jay something that I'd had in my mind and it's just completely gone.
Yeah, when you got to remember, we speak English in the United States.
English?
Cracking, eh?
That's your problem. We don't speak it here.
Yeah. That's why we're revolted. It's like, man, how revolting could this be? We got to sit there and speak English, and it's like none of us can. We can't understand our own people. Why should we understand you guys? Come on.
It's all spells anyway. It's the angelic language. You know, ask Darren about that next time he's on. The angelic one.
Watch it. I'll start yabbering in Ebonics. I'm driving nuts.
What, you have a Caroline? Never.
I don't even know what languages I know anymore. I just put them all together. Hey, everybody see the picture of 100% Annis beef I've put up there? That's kind of cool. Hey, and Sonic, I really like those guys that invented that pool table and that mud thing. I'm going to put that as an album. But I'm having all kinds of problems. I'm really cursing this new timeline they made me get on. That's just like, holy crap.
Yeah, but I like your picture in the timeline there. That was wicked.
Yeah, working on it.
It looked a bit like symbols from an alien sky.
There you go. It's center of the universe, right?
Yeah.
I'm working on it, and the photo albums are still there. There's about 1,500 of them now, so go through it. It's not all my shit. I mean, I'm putting other people's shit up there, so. But you did some awesome stuff, and hey, look at the guy that's got the banana car. A new friend of mine in Africa put that up there, and it's like, man, it reminded me of 30,000 pounds of banana with Harry Chapin, and I said, these guys party, and I want to party with these guys making a mud pool table. How awesome is that? Fucking hell. And then we got the, U.S. Marines, basically showing up with a picture with the Nazi symbol. It's the actual Gestapo thing, and I even found a shot with the guys etched in their guns, and then I found a German soldier that had the pork-eating crusader label on his fucking thing. So it's like, hey, people, I mean, we're not making fun of everybody in the military, because there's a lot of good people that sign up for a lot of various reasons. But, hey, the Nazi infiltration, man, they freaking lost the war, but they're winning the peace, and people gotta wake up, folks. This is just crazy. Hey, if you got Marines sitting with the American flag and then the Gestapo SS symbol flag, man, I tell you, that doesn't blow people up.
That's some programming, that, isn't it? That's some programming that they allowed, those soldiers allowed that SS flag to be put with the American flag.
Oh, yeah.
You see, if the American flag has got the little tassels around it, so, the maritime one, rather than the actual United States one.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You're so right. I mean, my dad was a drill sergeant. He told me, he just wanted to keep people alive. But, people don't realize it's not the individual soldier. I mean, these guys come in there for a lot of various reasons. They're not. People say, oh, they're not drafted anymore, so who gives a shit? But no, people do sign up for a lot of altruistic reasons too. That some people just need to get out of small towns. They need education, or they believe the 9/11. They believe the 7/7 story.
The NDAA. Do you reckon they'll use that to conscript people, like to press gang people?
Right.
And say, right, we're going to detain you, or we're going to put you on the front line.
Right, and
They do that anyway.
what we got to blame are the brass on their ass and the chicken hawks and the desk jockeys who largely never get shot at. It's like my dad knew Eisenhower. He said the son of a bitch was busy banging gals in France. And then he drew his weapon on American folks who were looking for the Christians during Hoover's years. So, hey, we're not making...
We've got Firecheck on the line here.
Firecheck's on the line, Caroline.
Hey, good. Hey, what's going on, Firecheck? We missed you.
She's literally on the phone
She's
line.
on the phone line.
So you can't
pick her up. Firecheck wants to know what you had for breakfast, Caroline. Take that bit.
Well, I ate an apple so far today, and about 3 o'clock this morning, I made some homemade soup. Put some chicken stuff, and I know. I'm trying to become a vegan again, but I'm not yet. But other than that, I've had 3 apples.
Excellent. 3 apples. Did you hear that? She says you must be Eve.
I work on it.
But
you know what? I'm not
Did some big snake give you the apple?
But tell her I don't listen to any reptilians.
You hear that, yeah?
No effing way, no fracking way, man. I'm gonna be cooking up some other stuff tonight. I haven't figured out yet. I got a couple boxes of stuff. I'm gonna put together something good. Hey, unless anybody out there wants to send me a vegan pizza, I'll take that too, probably.
That'd be horrible, wouldn't it? No cheese.
I know, it'd be a goddamn pizza. No, I want a ham. Hey, you know what? I just thought about this. You know what? I have a microbrewery, which I agree with Herb Guy, because I got a buddy that wrote the book on microbreweries, so we're going to have some dark beer, too, the real stuff like you guys got. And, Maynard's going to come there and do the coffee, she promised. But you know what? Why don't we have hemp pizzas? The hell with flour dough. We're going to have hemp pizzas.
Excellent. Jay?
Yeah?
Firecheck says hello.
Hello?
There you go. What do you think of that?
Firecheck has become the one that doesn't speak.
Yeah, Firecheck's on the phone, and we're holding the phone to the speaker. And then we're asking her a question, and she's saying, and she just wants to say hi.
It's a repeat of the
the thing. You put the mouthpiece to it last time. Let's put. Yeah. Right. Try and ask the question, Deb.
She totally discounted the hemp flour. We got to have the hemp bread and the hemp pizzas. Come on. I want to hear Firecheck's opinion on that.
Sorry, Colin, what was that?
I think that was speakerphone.
That's it. That's it.
Volume.
You know the speakerphone is there? You know we've got...
I'm free. Hey!
Where's the volume?
We can't hear it, guys.
Here we go.
Here we go.
That's better.
Can you hear her?
Yeah.
Yes, you can hear it. They can hear you, Deb. Firecheck.
Well, my question is, do you think the show has gone downhill since Darren left?
Of course.
I'm trying to hang up now. Debbie's here.
There's a silence there.
Yeah, come on, America, speak up.
Yeah.
Huh?
Don't be shy now.
Do you think the show has gone downhill since Darren left?
You're breaking up.
Well, there's definitely a thing about going downhill. Jack and Jill did it a long time ago.
That's when things are getting mellow, isn't it? When it's going downhill, that's mellow.
Yeah, that's when you're picking up speed.
Right, wait. Wait,
yeah, nice one, Jay. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
We're not listening.
Okay.
You were all choppy before.
Right.
Right.
I think maybe it's because.
Am I on speakerphone?
Yeah.
Are you in jail again? Check. Is that where you're at?
Can you hear me? Because I can't hear a word you're saying.
Right. Well, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Right. Well, you're on speakerphone and they can hear you.
Put the phone on speaker.
So.
I can't hear them though.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Well, guys, they can't. Well, they know that now. This is very, very technically complicated. It's the wrong time of night to be doing this stuff, honestly.
This might be entertaining on video.
Did you hear that? No?
No.
Oh, all right.
Put the phone by the speaker so you can hear it.
But ask her when she gets out of jail.
Can you hear that?
Can you hear that? Jay, did you hear that?
Yeah, I'm doing my best to have good behaviour.
Hey, are there any good-looking cellmates? Send them over.
Well, it'd be a women's prison, Carly, wouldn't it?
What the hell?
This is surreal. Yeah. This is live radio, folks.
We're all in prison. It's the prison of our minds.
Oh, good comeback. Way to go. Yeah. Now we know why they locked her up.
Yeah.
You're never in prison if your mind is free.
Hey, and trust me, Steve's not enjoying himself. We don't have any pictures to show you later. Trust me. Really. The videos were really good, though, but we won't show you any pictures.
Are you sure you've only had 3 apples, Carolyn?
Well, they were a little fermented. Everybody in America knows Boone's Farm apple wine. That's the best stuff to take to a concert when you were poor, and you know. They were great stuff. You put it in one of those wine little, you know, those, wait, guys, help me out. What do you call, hey, Jay, you know what those things were. What do you call those circular things?
A flask.
A demijohn?
No.
Canteen.
No, not a can. What do you call those, like, what do you call those leather things that put wine in?
Cutlery.
Yeah.
Flask.
A flask.
Flask.
No, the leather one.
A hip flask.
No, they're like goat bags or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I got the flask. It's sitting here. It's empty. Shit.
It's like a Spanish thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a goat, what they call the goat
goat bag.
Yeah.
Resettle now. Where are you?
They used to make them out of goat skin, and they used to fill them with wine.
Yeah, everybody from Woodstock till they started getting rid of all the outside concerts. Man, everybody carried one of those. It was great. Hey, and if you know, flat chested, you could put 2 of them up front. It kind of helps you get a date. It was kind of handy.
Far too much information there, Colin.
I gotta show you some. I'll have to post some images. It's great.
Well, you can fill them with rum. You don't have to fill them with wine.
Yeah, but if you have wine and they find out that the front is fake, they can drink the wine and they can dream.
Mine look like empty ones.
Oh, carpenter's dream, flat as a board. I get it. All right.
No, it's a pirate's dream, a sunken chest.
Sunken chest.
Thank God this is not on air. We'd be off the air by now.
Well, we are definitely on air.
It's podcast.
Podcast. Okay, I've got to go. The prison warders have sussed me.
Okay.
Take care, mate.
Hey,
Bye. That was surreal. Bye. Oh, look it stop.
And now a word from the emergency broadcasting system.
Yeah. Please do not panic. Please light another joint.
Yeah. Smoke them if you've got them.
Not in Missouri yet. Hey.
The reset, you still there? No.
Probably caught him off guard. He's lighting up. You told him to light up.
Oh, he's going. He's going.
You gave him an excuse to light up.
Yeah. Went out to the
Smoke
market.
weed every day.
How do you live in there?
Herb guy, you still there?
No, they're not.
No, they've gone.
They've gone.
They've gone chilling.
Jesus, bloody cowards. Just when it's getting good, they all bail the boat.
Freaking
So what time have we got?
Who's still here anyway? Jay, you're here. Steve's here. Nick's here. I'm here. Who the heck else is here?
Oh,
I'm Vic.
Vic. Oh, that's off. That's off. He's off. I'm gonna get reset.
Hey, why don't you put one of your songs on for a minute, Nick? I love your shit. Let people hear what's going to be on the CD, man.
Okay, well,
No, he's not there.
go to the top thing.
Top one.
Top one, yeah. Here's the...
Beyond all possibilities.
It's a Jedi history. Something online here, man. It's really fascinating.
All of us are on this path. This path to seek truth and enlightenment. We come to the point that never has. We've been missing beyond all possibility.
Creative inspiration and imagination within. Beyond all possibility. Creative inspiration and imagination within. And now we realize that it's just a big part of awakening and awakening other people.
Or many paths that lead to truths that will free us.
Creative inspiration and imagination within. Creative inspiration and imagination within. Beyond all possibility. Beyond all possibility. Intentionality.
The principles of Gaian Tantra and planetary Tantra.
Support
All of us are on this path. This path to seek truth and enlightenment. We come to the point where we realize we've been misinformed.
definitions are a huge part in the book. Creative inspiration and imagination within.
Luminous epinoia.
Creative inspiration and imagination within. In true form, we basically incorporate it in our own way.
My own experience with it is, it's simplicity is the key.
Incorporated in the book. Creative inspiration and imagination within. Beyond all possibility. Creative inspiration and imagination within.
Potentiality and all possibility. We are finding out the truth, and there is a path, or many paths, that lead to truth that will free us.
Sabian is really an ancient word.
Potentiality and all possibility. realization that we haven't been taught the truth about these things. All of us who are on this path to seek truth and enlightenment, we come to the point where we realize we've been misinformed.
We're not on.
I mean, the tune itself. I mean, you've sold yourself short.
Well, that was
How much time we got left, guys?
So that tune features, I think there's a bit of Lobo in there. There's the main dudes are Aiken from the Meditavian crew and Freighter X. They are the vocals on that. Yeah, you have the features in the book. Yeah, that we have to buy it.
Yeah. That was a good laugh in from Fire Chick as well, wasn't it?
Oh, she was great.
You should have
She's
seen it.
awesome.
I was holding the microphone to the phone with I had the receiver by the speaker and the microphone
next to
the telephone
next
thing.
to the hands-free bit.
And it
Hey,
was
she's the heart and soul. Steve, how did you get so lucky? How much did you have to pay?
who?
Vitek, she's awesome. How'd you get so lucky?
I had to pay with my life.
Yeah. He's an indentured servant now.
Which is cheap.
Yes, and you have told us many times how lucky you are. You are the luckiest man in Brighton and in
I
England.
know,
right?
I say it again, and I say it again, and again, and again, and again.
Nick is the second lucky.
Sometimes.
Steve tells us all the time he's the most luckiest guy in Brighton, so let's make sure you know that.
Now that'd be Nick. That'd be Sonic.
No, I think his partner is the second luckiest. You're the luckiest with Vitek, and then Nick's partner's the second luckiest. And Nick, well, hey, he just kind of got lucky, you know.
H is great.
Jay, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hey, so you're gonna move to the Midwest in May? Come on over.
Yeah, I have to wait. I'm supposed to see the cardiologist Monday and see if they're going to do that operation.
Well, you know, we need to talk about it. You Skype me about that, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
I have a 3:15 appointment with the doctor tomorrow.
Well, call me in the evening and let me know what's going on, you know?
Okay, I will.
Everybody,
Sunday, Jay.
And everybody in Type 1 cares about you, Jay. We want you to be all right.
Well, I by the time the operation happens, I should have my stuff be reversed in the time. I may not need the operation. But the operation's done. What they do is Kathy in the leg, and they go up and they repair the heart valve to a tube.
All right, well, be careful. And talk to me after you get the diagnosis thing, will you? I care about you. And so does everybody on Friends of Freeman and everybody on Facebook and everybody on Type 1 Radio. And that's not bullshit, okay?
I know. It'd be nice to get off the morphine. You know, I've been on it 6 months.
Hey, can you do me a favor and bring some of that with you? Son of a bitch, this ice beer is not doing not kicking it. I'm telling you.
What's wrong with your back, Caroline? Is it
about midway?
I don't know. You know, I was actually always in excellent shape. I used to teach karate. I actually played professional softball and all this shit. I had scholarships for softball and volleyball. But after Chernobyl, Jesus Christ, I had a year's worth of x-rays per hour for 3 days, and then I got irradiated at work, and then I got soaked in JP10 jet fuel. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I know that since then I've had a broken shoulder, broken back, broken neck, broken tailbone. I don't even count the fingers and toes anymore, and my teeth got fucked up because basically a huge dose of, even though I was taking a lot of baking soda just by coincidence before I went to the Soviet Union, so I was just lucky. I'd probably be dead if I hadn't been. But I had such a hard time breathing in the black project I was at. I was taking Alka-Seltzer Cold Plus. You know, they've taken that particular formula off the market, probably because it would save our lives. You know, the crap they say makes meth, I don't know, the mixture in Alka-Seltzer Cold Plus, I happened to be taking that because I couldn't breathe in the Black Project building I was in, which was a building within a building half underground. I couldn't breathe in the damn thing, and taking Alka-Seltzer Cold Plus was the only thing that worked. I was taking that 2 or 3 times a day when I still went to the Soviet Union, so when I was exposed to all the crap from Chernobyl, I mean, I sat outside in Helsinki, and everybody was wearing shirt sleeves in still cold weather going, where is this warm rain coming from? And I think I told you guys before. I mean, I was sitting there in short sleeves, and I remember lifting my head up going, I never felt warm rain and drizzle before in my life, where the rain was warm. I mean, it was not like most rain, if you ever feel it, is actually cool or cold. I mean,
you can't get warm rain over here though, Caroline.
What?
You can get warm rain very occasionally.
But I'm telling you, I was sitting in Helsinki, and this was like still in the winter time. Okay.
Oh really?
And,
oh my God.
Yeah. Well, when Chernobyl happened, when it happened, I was in the Soviet Union. Okay, but we did not know the extent of the damage. So I flew through the plume 5 times, not knowing I was in the plume. And being in a pressurized airplane is probably one of the worst places you want to be, because it just kind of like makes it, just shoves it in you. Now, and then I was in Helsinki for a couple days, and I went to the outside cafes all the time because I wanted to meet the people, because you know me, I don't like people and I don't like to talk. So I was out there sitting at these cafes talking to people. I got one of the last non-irradiated reindeer hides, if it's still in my house and not burned down. But
a little bit of music there from Caroline, and Jay's gone. So it's just me. Well, I think I'm going to put some music on. I'm going to put on